Actually answered that question. I said because there was a process happening that was currently ongoing, and I'll refer you back to my comments that I made.
Yeah, they're being fully transparent.
Right.
Clearly not with the American people. The full transparency would be notification publicly of what you had discovered privately and explaining in real time what processes you were undertaking to rectify the situation. So the first trove of documents that's discovered 6 days before the November election, we didn't know about.
And then this one just discovered December 22nd, but we just found out about it.
Yeah, and on Wednesday, again, in the interest of transparency, and I suggested this, we talked about this when she was asked about auditing the documents. Are there any documents anywhere else? So she clearly knew that there were, and they were soon to be disclosed, and this is what she said.
Has there been any kind of audit that's been done of where there may be others that he doesn't know about?
I'm just not going to speak to this. I'm going to let the process continue. It's an ongoing process, and so I'm just not going to speak to this from here. It is more prudent and more appropriate for my colleagues at the White House counsel.
Yeah, she was clearly apprised, and the White House counsel, maybe it was on advice of counsel, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was political advice and counsel. Regardless, they collectively chose not to disclose that there were more documents coming.
And why were the documents separated out? Why was what next to his Corvette, one in his closet, then they found another classified document in another office in his Delaware home?
Seriously, inadvertently, and transparency.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us at 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment.
Right. Transparent, the inadvertently, repeatedly said that the president inadvertently removed documents to his home, the garage, the library, ultimately to his phony think tank at the University of Pennsylvania. Jonathan Turley last night addressed the inadvertence claim that is being invoked by the White House.
The most interesting aspect about today is that the White House repeated almost mantra-like this inadvertence defense. They have really latched onto this and said this was an inadvertent misplacement of these documents. The problem is that the facts don't really support that, because the assumption is that all of these documents were taken from the executive branch when Biden left as vice president. That's in 2017. We know that the Penn-Biden office didn't even open until 2018. So we know that some of these documents were moved at least twice. But the other interesting thing is that they were not just distributed to different points, they were also divided, right? You've got one document that was found in the library, others in the garage. So the question is, why were these documents sent and used in different places? It suggests that they were, knowingly divided. And that's going to be a question that the special counsel is going to have to look at. We know the president was working on a book that dealt with Ukraine and some of these other subject matters. So if the president actually saw these documents, it'd be hard to miss that they're classified, because they reportedly had TSSCI classification markings. I've worked with classified material for decades, and I can tell you it's pretty darn hard to miss that. So if he did work off these documents, inadvertence goes right out the window, and it looks more like an effort to deceive the public. The White House the White House press secretary said this was inadvertently misplaced. Well, it had to be repeatedly inadvertently misplaced, and that becomes more difficult the more times you inadvertently misplace something.
Yeah, it's the old hey, the guy fell on a knife. He fell on a knife 5, 6, 7 times. He just kept falling on the same knife. These documents just kept being inadvertently misplaced by supernatural forces. Nobody did it intentionally. There's no responsible party. They just kept moving around from the White House to the Biden house to the phony think tank.
The garage, next to his muscle Corvette. This is anybody else. I just think, and I said this, I think, on Tuesday, I think they're doing this to get him out of office. They need something because the Hunter Biden laptop isn't enough. They need something more to get somebody else to run for president in 2024.
Well, speaking of Hunter Biden, good
how's he
piece
doing?
by Phil Wegman, and it makes the obvious point, but it's one to be made regardless. Phil Wegman from RealClearPolitics.com, who's part of the White House press corps, he had some questions for KJP yesterday. That Hunter Biden had access to that garage.
Oh, that's right.
And the reporting from the first trove of documents is that at least some involved Ukraine, and Hunter Biden is on the board of Burisma. So, this is why Peter Doocy from Fox asked KJP about a visitor's log to the family compound of Biden Inc., and this is what he got in return.
When will the White House release a log of visitors to the Wilmington house?
Peter, you've asked this question, or your colleagues have asked this question before. Let's not forget what we did here in this White House. We instituted something that the last administration got rid of, which is putting out the White House, making sure that there was a White House log, extensive White House log, so the American people got to see.
House where there is potentially unsecured, classified material.
Again, I am telling you, we did something that the last administration got rid of, which is instituting the White House logs. Did you ask the last administration why they got rid of the White House logs? Okay, let's go. Let's go. Well, did Fox did? Go ahead. Go ahead.
So there you go, a non-answer to that question, in the interest of transparency.
I mean, the oddity is that we have a former White House occupant and the guy who's presently at the White House both being investigated at the same time.
Well, there's special counsels now appointed to investigate both. Philip Durr from Maryland has been tapped by Merrick Garland to keep up appearances and investigate Biden. But we know,
Because
from
John
media
Lausch is
coverage,
retired.
we also know, just generally speaking, these are two completely different cases.
Yep.
They have nothing in common. The reason is very simple. One involves Trump and the other does not. And that makes them completely different, and they're to be held to completely different legal standards.
Well, I feel better with Trump because at least Trump had Secret Service with him, and it was in a secured location with a camera pointed at it.
At 5:38, we'll take your calls. We also want to talk about the media's coverage of the former president as compared to the current president on this matter of handling of classified information. We'll tackle that seriously, inadvertently, and transparently, just like the administration does.
And another
5:38.
horrible cardiac arrest. The king's only daughter has died. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
33 degrees. We have snow flurries crossing the area at 5:32. 7 are dead. A dozen more injured after tornadoes tore through Alabama and Georgia on Thursday. The National Weather Service says the worst damage is in Selma, Alabama.
Thankful that God saved my life.
I think the Lord was good to me, give me enough sense to get away from here before it hit, because there's a good chance I'd have lost my life.
One person killed in Georgia, plenty of storm damage in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mississippi. Attorney General Merrick Garland is appointing a special counsel to oversee the investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents from his time as vice president.
The document authorizes him to investigate whether any person or entity violated the law in connection with this matter.
Robert Hur is taking on the role after serving as Maryland's U.S. attorney during the Trump administration. President Biden says he's fully cooperating.
They discovered a small number of documents of classified markings in storage areas and file cabinets in my home and my personal library.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says Congress must investigate.
Here's an individual that sat on 60 Minutes that was so concerned about President Trump's documents locked in behind, and now we find it just as a vice president, keeping it for years out in the open in different locations.
Meantime, Chicago federal prosecutor John Lausch is stepping down. Attorney General Merrick Garland at yesterday's news conference made that announcement.
When I first contacted Mr. Lausch about this matter, he said he could lead the initial investigation, but would be unable to accept any longer-term assignment because he would be leaving the department in early 2023 for the private sector.
Garland revealed Lausch's plans while speaking about the appointment of a special counsel. Lausch had initially been asked by Garland to review the documents. Lausch has been U.S. attorney in Chicago since 2017. A Japanese court says prosecutors have formally charged the suspect in the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe with murder. Southwest Airlines shareholders are filing a class action lawsuit against the company, alleging the airline gave materially false and misleading information over a 2-year stretch that may have caused some of the issues the company had last month. All Class AAA minor league baseball parks will reportedly call balls and strikes electronically this season. ESPN reporting late Thursday night that half of AAA games will be played with all calls determined by the electronic strike zone. The other half will be played with live home plate umpires and a challenge system, similar to what's used in pro tennis. A business in Schaumburg is destroyed after catching fire. The blaze broke out last night in a facility near Lunt Avenue and Rodenberg Road. A worker is dead after being trapped in a building that collapsed in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood. The collapse happened yesterday in the 700 block of East Oakwood Boulevard. Blackhawks 3-2 winners over the Avalanche at the UC. Bulls take on Oklahoma City tonight. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7, around the clock, all day, every day. Listen now, Dan and Amy247.com. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager sees a mass exit.
California's delegation to the House, based on population, declined for the first time in California history. California was once identified with freedom. This was the place you went to be free. Now, thanks to the Democratic Party and the rest of the left, this is the place you flee to be free.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, they've helped families set their legacies in stone for over 180 years. With interest-free financing and low monthly payments, now is the time to set your final wishes in place. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 today to schedule a free consultation.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm in the medical field, and I think when you start out these things, everything from the advertisement sounds so good that you're psyched up for it to work. It's working. Anyway, I'm happy.
Balance of Nature has made a big difference. It's just one of the greatest products, and it's just so simple, and it works.
Balance of Nature is a fantastic product. You could tell it's real. You could taste it. And it gives you really good energy, and it's just right up there with rent, electric cable, like things that you have to have. I'm not cutting Balance of Nature. No, I love it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated in our Food for the Poor campaign. Because of your generosity, guess what? We're able to feed 5,000 kids and counting in Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, these are children and families that simply would not have food without your generous donations. But just because the holiday season is over, that doesn't mean the need has gone away. So if you haven't already, you can still make a donation by visiting 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. And listen up, if you're a business owner, let's do that business benefactor program. What it is a one-time donation of $2,500, and we will give you 40 one-minute commercials. It's the best way to elevate your business. It is the best deal in all of Chicagoland radio. Here's what you do. Call Anjanette Natowski. Her number is 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951. Or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need.
538. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Kennedy outbound accident, left lane blocked. Outbound at Ohio, 2-vehicle accident. It caused some major delays for a while. Stevenson inbound, 25 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Elgin, just a reminder, McLean Boulevard near Big Timber, shut down in both directions, at least through today. It's been shut down for a couple of days because of ongoing repairs to a major gas leak. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy, breezy, and a snow shower today. High 31. Partly cloudy and 22 overnight. 33 at O'Hare. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about Mr. 10%, the big guy, President Biden, and his spokeshuman, KJP, this great Karnak the Magnificent routine they've been doing. Seriously, inadvertently, transparently, and then you blow open the envelope, and it's how I keep my vintage vet as well as the nation's secrets in mint condition. That's the argument that's being laid out.
And he was so cocky and arrogant when he talked about it, too. Like, don't you know I have a vintage Corvette? I was on Jay Leno with it.
Let's talk a bit about the media coverage of this, because they're doing a good job yesterday of trying to keep up appearances of even-handedness and general inquisitiveness with respect to the handling of classified information from this president after spending the run-up to the November 8th election in hysterics over the handling of classified information by the former president. Just a reminder of a little bit of what that reporting sounded like when the matter related to former President Trump.
The seriousness of the potential threat to national security information, I just don't know what to say.
If he was in possession of classified documents, those are by definition potentially harmful to our national security.
These are really classified and a really threat to national security.
That really jumps out to me as a national security threat.
This is a national security crisis.
The extreme risk that Trump was willing to take with our national security.
That's right.
Michael Beschloss, who was my selection for most idiotic quote of the year last year in his description of what could transpire on November 8th if Republicans took both chambers, which was an authoritarian regime, your children being imprisoned and then killed.
Oh, that's right. I remember that, yeah.
He tweeted out in response to the contretemps over President Trump's handling of classified documents. The Rosenbergs were convicted for giving U.S. nuclear secrets to Moscow and were executed in June of 1953, intimating that because the reporting was some of the documents in Trump's possession had to do with the nuclear program, that he would possibly be eligible for not just prosecution, but execution. So that gives you a little bit of a sense of the tenor of the reporting on President Trump. And now yesterday, you have all of these reporters getting uppity with spokeshuman KJP. Why? Because they're good reporters that are going wherever the facts lead, and they want to make sure the same standard they apply to President Trump is applied to President Biden. No, isn't that cute? Yeah. No, they're doing it, number one, because they have to keep up the facade so they can utter that statement that I just made without laughing. And number two, they're embarrassed. You're supposed, when you're the comm shop of the Democrat Socialist Party, as the D.C. press corps is, you're supposed to be apprised of those things. You're supposed to be brought along. Keep us in the loop so we can run proper interference, so we can produce proper spin. But when we get caught flat-footed, then worse than you looking like a bunch of arses, we look like a bunch of arses, and we don't like that.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line 646-3683. Type in DA, then a quick comment. And Merrick Garland, I mean, he's backed into a corner to assign a special prosecutor, which he did, because John Lausch announced yesterday that he's retiring, going to go into the private sector. And so this Phil Durr is taking charge. And here's Merrick Garland.
The extraordinary circumstances here require the appointment of a special counsel for this matter.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
office was not authorized for storage of classified documents.
Okay,
Oh, the home garage isn't? But the vet's in there. If it's good enough for the vintage vet. So Merrick Garland is portraying a serious law enforcement official.
Oh, yeah, he looked very serious yesterday.
Everybody has to play their role. So everybody's going to play their role to keep up appearances, to keep up this facade that the Justice Department, the FBI, the D.C. Press Corps are not hopelessly politicized and completely in the tank for the left, because they are. But we're going to keep up appearances. If we can at least fool half the people, then maybe we can all hold on to our phony baloney jobs in 24 the way that so many unfortunately did in 22. We can perpetrate another fraud, maybe with the help of bending an election law here or there as well. Yeah. We're supposed to buy this seriousness of the approach being taken by the media or by Merrick Garland's Justice Department. That's the story you're giving us.
And who wants to read a book on Ukraine anyway? I mean, some of the documents they said were intelligence from the UK, Ukraine, and Iran.
Okay. One other thing I have to get to, and then we'll take your calls.
Mm-hmm.
Because just when you think that an institution like the D.C. Press Corps is the biggest clown operation in town, you still have Congress. You still have Congress. And you still have congressmen like Georgia's Hank Johnson.
I can't believe he still has his job.
To offer this perspective.
But I'm suspicious of the timing of it. I'm also aware of the fact that things can be planted on people.
Oh, boy.
Places and things can be planted.
Oh, yeah.
Things can be planted in places.
Yes, places and planting
then discovered
and Guam's
going to tip over.
That may be what has occurred here. I'm not ruling that out. But I'm open in terms of the investigation. Needs to be investigated.
You know what I think here? Yeah. You know what happened here? Trump planted these documents at Biden's phony think tank in his garage in the library. This is part of a Trump false flag operation, don't you think? Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know that. Like Hank Johnson, I'm just suggesting it's possible, and there needs to be an investigation to see if that's in fact true. My theory is in fact true. Planting of classified documents. That's the Hank Johnson defense. It's possible Mark Furman is involved.
Oh, that's...
I don't know.
And where's O.J. Simpson?
And of course, mainly I play Hank Johnson so that we can offer the first installment of Hank Johnson's instant classics since he has been in Congress.
This is a island that
never gets
at its widest level is 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level or smallest location, it's 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
The best part of that is the commander of our Pacific Fleet at the time, Robert Willard, saying in response to something so inane, we don't anticipate Guam tipping over if we station more Marines on the island, because I understand that it doesn't just float around the water, that it's a landmass. But anyway.
And people reelected him anyway.
Of course they did.
Hey.
Of course they did, because he gets to the bottom of things. He asks the questions people are afraid to ask, like, will Guam tip over, or was these classified documents were they planted on President Biden's place? Asking the questions people are afraid to ask. Hank Johnson. Now there's a dogged fact finder. Jordan in Forest Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah. Who keeps papers in their garage? Now,
me.
I keep papers in my garage. It's the recycle bin. It's the recycle bin. So have the press ask the president, do you keep your tax returns in the garage next to your nice, shiny, beautiful 67 vet?
Thanks for the call, Jordan. They're in the library, too. I mean, it's sort of like
one document was in his office.
Sort of game of Clue here. Okay. Colonel Mustard is in the library. Vince in Crete, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
With the wrench.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. I can't believe you guys are missing the real important point of this whole story, and that's what is the carbon footprint of Joe Biden's Corvette?
Exactly. It's a great point.
It's not an EV, yeah.
When is he going to get it retrofitted to be an EV? The 67 Stingray or something? Yeah.
I just wish it was red so we could play the song Little Red Corvette by Prince.
Who paid for that, by the way?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Biden Inc. Is that a Biden Inc. company car? Can you write that off? Mike in Plano.
Hey, Amy, you mentioned the difference between Trump and Biden is that Trump made you feel better by having his records stored in a secure facility in Mar-a-Lago. Well, that's not the main difference, Amy. The difference is that Trump was president and had the authority to classify and declassify.
Yep.
Biden was vice president and didn't have the authority. That's why what happened to Trump was a charade and why what Biden did was a felony. I sure hope you understand that.
No, I do. I'm just saying that the documents were separated out in different places, so he knew exactly what he was doing. I'm not buying any of this bull jive that it was inadvertently misplaced. And you're right. I mean, what Biden did was a heck of a lot worse than what Trump did.
Although I don't even
think what Trump did was wrong.
We still need an answer to questions about what he declassified or didn't declassify, when he did it, and so on and so forth. I'm talking about Trump, but yeah,
Biden has no power to declassify.
That is a distinction. The more important question is: Are we going to see Biden and Trump in a jail cell together or on a debate stage together?
That's a great
It's very much an open question now.
No, it's true. I mean, never before in our country's history has the former person in the White House and the current person in the White House been under investigation.
We call those persons presidents.
What we call them president. Yeah. I'm just saying it's,
What if we split the difference and they do their debates from jail?
That'd be great. What about cage match?
Maybe
As you always say, 2 enter, 1 leaves.
Like Johnny Cash at Leavenworth or something.
Clown world we're living in.
Whew. Marvin in Burlington.
Good morning. I think it's sort of the shiny object that everybody's looking at, the classified documents here, there, and everywhere. And so we don't focus our attention on the real issue is all the money's changing hands between the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese Communist financial interests, the Penn University, and the kickbacks to the Biden household. And those are the really interesting questions to me is who's taking money? Where is that money? Who's recording any of that money? That's the heart of the matter. Has Joe Biden actually sold out the United States to China? I think we all know the answer, and I think that's why a lot of this attention is being focused on these documents.
Well, the document, yeah. I mean, that's it's a good question, Marvin. Thanks for the call. But the documents, if you have a conscientious special counsel, which I think you do here, the documents should lead you to those questions and potentially those answers, depending on their contents and their usage and by whom they were used or reviewed. that the documents are sort of source material upon which to build a case, to ask those questions if they prompt those questions, and to answer them, or to seek answers to them based on that evidence. And so I think it'll be very interesting if you get a real investigation. And here's the key: you can have a special counsel do this work, all the due diligence that he wants to do, green-lighted by Merrick Garland, whether it's Jack Smith or this Durr guy from Maryland, the competing special counsels. But ultimately, it's Merrick Garland's call. Yep. Don't forget that. It still all levels back up to Merrick Garland. So he's got to figure a way out of this corner he's painted himself in.
New Trier's finest.
Jimmy on the Kennedy.
Yeah, I think people are getting focused on the numbers, this and that. But if you listen to it, they have China. Maybe those documents relate to China, some secret agreements that Joe and Hunter have for their payoffs and how to funnel the money. You have Ukraine. Maybe it's information on Burisma, how they're going to cut things up, divide the money, and send the money. And you have UK. That's interesting. Wasn't about the same time that the Russia to collusion that Joe Biden set in motion on that office with the Michael Flynn and Obama and Susan Rice.
Yeah, but
what do these documents pertain? What are they? Are they just green energy, or are they specific to countries and deals? That's what are the documents related to?
Well, according to NBC and Fox, the documents that were found at his think tank pertain to the UK, Iran, and Ukraine.
Right, but we don't know those details. We don't know if that reporting is accurate. We don't know about the second trove of documents. Certainly, I doubt any materials that would be kept would be so obvious and indicating illicit activity. But the bigger question is sort of what Ducey was getting to when he asked about the visitor logs to Wilmington. Was somebody who is not authorized to access classified information using classified information in furtherance of their business interests, like Hunter in Ukraine, for example? Those are questions that hopefully will be asked and answered. John in Crown Point.
Hi, Dan and Amy. Love your show. Love Amy more. Mm-hmm. Hey, with Trump, they knew he had the documents, so they wanted them back. But with Biden, did they know he had the documents out? And also, too, who found them? Like a maid in the garage, or were they looking for them?
His attorneys found the first batch.
Thanks, John. Yeah, but that's not the question. The question is, why were they looking for the documents? And NBC's Kristen Welker amazingly actually asked that question. And this is the response you get from KJP.
And he's said this before, classified documents and information, he takes that very seriously. And you see,
garage is an appropriate place to store classified
I'm not going to go into what he thinks or how he.
What sparked this?
Again, I'm just not going to go into details from here. I'm not going to go into specifics from here. This is this review is continuing, is ongoing. I would refer you to Department of Justice.
Right. What sparked this? We're not going to tell you. And we made a counsel available. They've given lengthy statements. Right. But they won't tell you why they were looking for documents at his phony think tank, why they were looking for documents in his home.
And he's had them for 6 years.
There had to be an animating event, and we don't know what that is. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
We all want to eat healthy, but have you ever read the ingredients list off of your favorite snack? Between the hard-to-pronounce ingredients and man-made additives, it's difficult to find anything made from real, natural ingredients. Even some of my favorite organic snacks have ingredients I haven't heard of. At Balance of Nature, we know the value of real nutrition that can only be found in real food. That's why the only things you'll find on our ingredients list are real whole fruits and vegetables. No additives. fillers, or artificial ingredients of any kind. Balance of Nature is the best whole fruit and vegetable product on the market, delivering your body everything it needs to function at its very best. Eat better and feel better. Start your journey to better health. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get free shipping. And don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Peace. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll continue our conversation about all things related to classified information and special counsels with former FBI Assistant Director Kevin Brock, 606.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Mike Scott, are you upset about Lisa Marie Presley's death? No. I almost did not come into work today. I'm not kidding you. I'm
not really
heartbroken.
Not really. You know, I mean, Elvis was big. Lisa Marie was his daughter.
It's his only daughter.
I know. It's okay.
Give me a hug later.
Calm down. We'll give you a hug. We're watching a Schaumburg business on fire, and we'll have details on that story coming up for you at 6.
Death and destruction in the South. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Especially Selma, Alabama, and surrounding areas hit hard by tornadoes.
Thankful that God saved my life.
I think the Lord was good to me. Give me enough sense to get away from here before it hit, because it's a good chance I'd have lost my life.
But at least 7 other people were killed, and at least a dozen others severely injured in Alabama, and there's a lot of damage. A 5-year-old boy in Georgia was killed when a tree fell on the car he was in. A special counsel is now investigating President Biden over the classified documents found from his days as vice president.
Joe Biden should know better.
Republicans in Congress will also investigate. Senator Tom Tillis tells Fox.
Normally, you don't even take a classified document out of a classified setting, the SCIF as we call it in the Senate, let alone taking it to your garage.
Now, the first set of documents found in an old office the president used in November.
Now, on December 20th, a month later, more classified documents were found in the Wilmington garage.
And then later, yesterday, we learned of
an additional document discovered at the Wilmington property of the President of the United States.
Fox's David Spunt and other special counsels probing the Trump classified documents discovery. Russia claims it's taking control of another town in Ukraine, Soledar. This as Ukraine gets more help fighting back, and not from the U.S. this time.
Kyiv finally securing the military equipment it long had called for, Leopard tanks. Poland made the announcement, hoping that other allies would quickly follow suit.
Fox's Alex Hogan in Kyiv. Lisa Marie Presley is being mourned. Elvis's only child suffered cardiac arrest at her California home, rushed to a hospital, but died. Days after Presley and her mother were at the Golden Globe Awards on NBC cheering Austin Butler, who won Best Actor for portraying her father in the movie Elvis.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for opening your hearts, your memories, your home to me. Lisa Marie, Priscilla, I love you forever.
Lisa Marie Presley was 54. America's listening to Fox News.
Flurries are dissipating across the area this morning. 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Here are the stories we're following on WIND Chicago. Chicago federal prosecutor John Lausch is stepping down. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced yesterday that U.S. Attorney of the Northern District will leave office in early 2023.
When I first contacted Mr. Lausch about this matter, he said he could lead the initial investigation, but would be unable to accept any longer-term assignment because he would be leaving the department in early 2023 for the private sector.
Garland revealed Lausch's plans while speaking about the appointment of a special counsel to look into classified documents found at the home and office of then Vice President Joe Biden. A business in Schaumburg destroyed after catching fire. The blaze broke out late last night at a storage facility near Lunt Avenue and Rodenberg Road. The cause is under investigation. Mayor Lightfoot apologizing after her campaign sent out emails to Chicago public school teachers for the purpose of recruiting student volunteers for her re-election campaign.
As soon as I learned about the outreach to the CPS teachers, we put a stop to it. Bottom line here is it was clearly a mistake.
Lightfoot's comments followed public backlash, including by some who called the move unethical. The Bears have named Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren as team president and CEO, Warren replacing Ted Phillips. Warren carries 21 years of NFL experience with the Rams, Lions, and with the Minnesota Vikings, where he built a new state-of-the-art stadium. Irish dancing legend Michael Flatley is being treated for cancer. It was announced on the Chicago native's Instagram page that he has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Flatley moved to Chicago when he was an infant and attended Brother Rice High School. Taylor Radish, the game winner. Blackhawks 3-2 over Colorado at the UC. Bulls will try to avoid a 3-game losing skid when they host OKC at the United Center tonight. 3 on top of the leaderboard as they golf in Hawaii at the Sony Open. Chris Kirk, Jordan Spieth, Taylor Montgomery, all at 6 under par. The news service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains the consequences.
You are now seeing several uniparty candidates say, I'm going to go caucus with Democrats. By having a uniparty, it would basically effectively destroy the United States House of Representatives being in the Republican direction.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Make a New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Help protect your identity and finances with LifeLock Identity Theft Protection. LifeLock detects identity threats you may miss on your own. And if you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year. Go to LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions. Like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip. Or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
I miss my baby. Someone stole my baby. By the way, my baby is my landscaping truck that was literally stolen from a job site. Baby, won't you please come home?
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with 30-plus customizable coverage options, Progressive Commercial keeps your business humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I love my sweetheart. By the way, that's my riding lawnmower.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
Exercise more, lose 10 pounds. Tired of New Year's resolutions you can't keep? Here's one you can keep, saving more for retirement. If you're a small business owner, independent, professional, consultant, or self-employed individual, according to the IRS, you may be able to save up to $265,000 a year pre-tax. You may think, I already have a retirement plan. I can't put away that much each year for retirement. No, you can't. Not with a traditional retirement plan, but you can with a defined benefit plan. A defined benefit plan is IRS approved and a way for high-income earners to begin to catch up on their retirement savings pre-tax. We call it a retirement accelerator. Visit yourretirementaccelerator.com to download their guide to see if you might qualify. That's yourretirementaccelerator.com. This year, make a resolution you can keep. This advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be relied on as financial advice. Any specific recommendations are provided only after understanding your entire financial situation.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Dr. Willie Wilson, the son of a sharecropper. He left home at age 13 to mop floors and flip burgers, with a vision for a better future for himself and those like him. A future where he could make a difference by creating jobs, by helping the disadvantaged, by giving back. The great city of Chicago needs Dr. Willie Wilson as mayor to bring out its best.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve
this message.
6:08. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time is the service of the AM 560 mobile app, where you can download the mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Edens is fine. Kennedy looking okay. 18 into the burn circle. Stevenson in right now. 24 minutes to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Slow traffic on the exit to the inbound Dan Ryan this morning. Ryan Express lanes are jammed up just a bit between 35th and the Stevenson. Tri-State, jam spot, I-88 northbound. Right at 294 northbound, right at I-88. Slow ramps to the outbound Ike this morning. Elgin, Kane County, McLean Boulevard, north and southbound still closed for the third day in a row as they do major repairs because of a gas leak. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Today, clouds and breezy, snow showers and a high 31. Partly cloudy tonight, low 22. Sunny day tomorrow, a high 37. Sun and clouds on Sunday morning, mostly cloudy by the afternoon, the high 43. Rain Monday, high at 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Steve, thank you. 32 at O'Hare, 32 Midway, 33 in Flores and Lansing. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I hate to be fatalistic about institutions, particularly institutions charged with upholding the rule of law. But you have to be realistic, too, don't you? And so, as we're talking about the relative handling of a president who allegedly mishandled classified information vis-a-vis the raid on Mar-a-Lago versus the kit gloves that are being provided Joe Biden and company.
Yeah, why wasn't the media tipped off when they went and explored his Delaware home like they were for Trump?
Right, after months of non-disclosure, including another pre-election non-disclosure from the Biden family, perhaps in cooperation with some in the media, perhaps not. Either way, let's just start with Biden Inc. and the Department of Justice and the FBI. But it's not just on this matter, of course, we know. And I just want to sort of reset the table on some other issues so we don't forget about them, in the hope that maybe if enough pressure is brought, enough continued focus on some of these other matters is offered, that you will get something approximating accountability, even begrudgingly. And that's not good enough, but I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to make some decisions. We as a free society are going to have to make some decisions about what we want from our political leadership and how we want our government structured and what powers we want entrusted and to whom we want them entrusted. And so I go back to this. When the Dobbs decision was leaked last year.
Yep. Ever find out who that leaker was?
That's still pending. Mm-hmm. And Justice John Roberts said, we'll handle it internally. We don't need the FBI. Okay, well, where are we at with identifying that person and offering some accountability from the highest court in the land? Nowhere. Well, we don't know where we are because there's been no update, though, as to where we are, if anywhere. And the FBI, in the wake of that decision, was charged with investigating acts of domestic terrorism, although they didn't call them that. 78 pro-life pregnancy centers were attacked including the firebombing of a pro-life center in Buffalo that injured 2 firefighters.
Jesus.
The FBI, after more than 6 months, has arrested actually 0 individuals, those responsible for death threats or actual physical violence. 0. 78 attacks.
Wow.
Had that been 78 attacks on black churches or Jewish synagogues or Democrat Congress people's offices
or Planned Parenthoods, even
or
one
Planned
attack would be
Parenthoods.
leading the news.
0. So much so that now pro-life operator of pro-life pregnancy centers, Compass Care, is hiring their own private detectives, is working with the Thomas More Society to hire those private investigators to find out who attacked their offices, also offering allowing themselves to collect the FBI's $25,000 reward. That's the only thing the FBI seems to have done. Let's throw a reward out there so that we can at least indicate that we attempted to do something. But that's not their priority. Attacks on American citizens, depending on who the attacker might be and who the victims are a high priority or a low priority.
Or no priority, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Arson, I mean, come on, you could figure that out. There's got to be surveillance cameras, guys. Come on.
Accountability. I mean, that's really what this all boils down to. Do we have individuals in the upper reaches of government who believe they're accountable to the people who put them there, believe they're accountable to the laws that govern our country? And, the initial returns are not very good, are they? Matt Taibbi released Twitter Files installment number 14, The Russiagate Lies. For example, here, and again, considering how the FBI, possibly the CIA, was involved in this, you had the upper echelon of the Democrat Socialists Party involved in this from the get-go, because, of course, it was Camp Clinton and Mark Elias that were responsible for concocting the Steele dossier, which allowed Jim Comey to get all sorts of FISA warrants to improperly surveil the Trump campaign, and then it just continued on after he was elected. I mean, I don't need to restate all the details. You get the gist of it. I mean, this is the talking about the lead law enforcement intel agencies in the country, talking about the President of the United States, duly elected. Taibbi reports, at a crucial moment in a years-long furor, Democrats denounced a report about flaws in the Trump-Russia investigation, saying it was boosted by Russian bots and Russian trolls. Twitter officials were aghast, finding no evidence of Russian influence. Quoting from documents from Twitter officials, we are feeding congressional trolls, talking about Adam Schiff and company. Not any significant activity connected to Russia. Not any significant activity connected to Russia. Putting the cart before the horse, assuming this is propaganda/bots. Twitter warned politicians and media they not only lacked evidence, but Twitter had evidence the accounts were not Russian. That was roundly ignored. On January 18th of 2018, Republican Devin Nunez submitted a classified memo to the House Intel Committee detailing abuses by the FBI in obtaining FISA surveillance authority against Trump-connected figures, including the role played by the Steele dossier I just mentioned. The Nunez assertions, as you might remember, would be virtually all of them were verified in a report by DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz. Nonetheless, national media in January and early February of 2018 denounced the Nunez report, calling it a joke. And by the way, they all, reading from the same playbook, they all literally use the same language. January 23rd of 2018, Di-Fi and Schiff published an open letter saying the hashtag, quote, gained the immediate attention and assistance of social media accounts linked to Russian influence operations. Feinstein and Schiff said the Nunez memo distorts classified information, although they didn't call it correct. Blumenthal from Connecticut followed suit. We find it reprehensible that Russian agents have so eagerly manipulated innocent Americans. Feinstein, Schiff, Blumenthal, and the media all pointed to the same source. A dashboard created by a former FBI counter-intel official named Clint Watts. The dashboard, which featured a crude picture of Vlad Putin deviously blowing evil red Twitter birds into the atmosphere, was vague in how it reached its conclusions. Inside Twitter, executives panned Watts, this former FBI counter-intel official, and the dashboard he created. But that was the only source that everyone was using. The Democrats preening before the cameras, like Schiff and Blumenthal and many others, and the media reporting on them. The global policy comm chief for Twitter. I encourage you to be skeptical of Hamilton 68, which was the dashboard. The Hamilton 68 take on this, which as far as I can tell is the only source for these stories. And it goes on from there. The smearing of Devin Nunez, even though his report was backed up by the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, who actually seemed to be an independent guy, at least during the Trump years. He was also critical of the conduct of Comey and McCabe, although that went nowhere. All of this fraud, maybe it was just ends up just being political fraud by the politicians, but it's something more serious when law enforcement throws in. Now, Twitter is not the hero in this story because, of course, these are all internal communications that we only know about thanks to Elon Musk. It's not like there were Twitter whistleblowers who came forward when Adam Schiff was omnipresent on the cable news channels, spinning all sorts of yarns and telling us for literally years on end the smoking gun would be delivered at some point in the not-too-distant future. Never was, because there never was one. Nobody came forward at Twitter. It was all internal. Because why? They don't want to be a party to the fraud. Some of these executives at Twitter, they certainly weren't going to cross their fellow travelers in Congress because they were otherwise happy to do the bidding in so many other instances, as has also been documented by the Twitter files. That's what's complicated about it. Everybody has a little bit different appetite for this sort of political skullduggery, even at a place like Twitter under the great stewardship of Jack Dorsey. But just basic accountability. All this talk about threats to our democracy and the truth and mandatory courses on media literacy so young people can distinguish disinformation from the truth in this age of disinformation. To the extent that we're living in an age of disinformation, it's almost all perpetrated by the arbiters of disinformation. The institutions in D.C., the Fourth Estate, and all those other institutions that are controlled by their fellow travelers who take their cues from the Fourth Estate and these law enforcement agencies and intel agencies, because we're supposed to have, this is not a new insight here, but the irony of all of these baby boomer flower children being useful idiots of the FBI and CIA because they like that John Brennan is a communist and was the former head of the CIA, and they like who some of the targets were of the FBI, and so everything goes now. And then you see just how far the situation has devolved when you have these companion cases of Trump's handling of classified information, followed a few months later by Biden's handling of classified information. And you can understand why people can't make heads or tails of it, throw their hands up in the air and say, the hell with it, the whole thing is rotten to the core. which is what people are doing. And again, the left is much more animated than the center right when it comes to pursuit of state power. And so this chaos that reigns, that sensible people find so distasteful, ironically benefits the perpetrators of the chaos. Because reasonable people withdraw from the arena and they continue unapologetically to advance on our rights. And the sort of underlying foundation of this free society, of the American experiment. I mean, there's the silliness, and it's mildly entertaining for a moment, and then you have to contemplate the seriousness that's belied by the silliness. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Democrats predicted an end to high inflation, but nothing has changed. In fact, food and housing prices are still going higher. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to protect your savings from inflation by diversifying into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, simply text the word SHELTER to 989898, and you'll get a free info kit on gold IRAs that will explain everything. Again, that's SHELTER to 989898. There's no obligation or purchase required.
All right. I look forward to it every morning. Yes, that's taking Balance of Nature. And my son is taking it at college because he finally admitted, Mom, you know what? Give me some of that stuff. And I said, what stuff? And he said, the vitamin stuff. And I said, oh, you mean Balance of Nature? Because he admits he's not getting enough fruits and veggies on his own. He's been taking it, and he said he's a lot less sore after those hard workouts at the gym. So that says something. And everybody I talk to that's taking Balance of Nature loves it. Many say they've increased energy, the ability to keep doing the things that they love to do, even as they age. One guy told me he lost a lot of weight because instead of grabbing that cookie when he gets that sweet tooth urge, he just chews on a fruits capsule. 31 whole fruits and vegetables in those capsules. And what they do is they take the fruits and vegetables and they use an advanced cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content, put it into capsules, and voila, you can get your va-va-voom back. So get the nutrition your body needs, get the nutrition your body craves, get Balance of Nature. Here's what you do. Call this number, 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago. With that, you'll get free shipping for first-timers and 35% off your first preferred order of fruits and veggies, or simply go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hi, it's Amy, and MyPillow is excited to bring you their biggest bedding sale ever. Get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. Folks, they look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. So trust me, these sheets are ridiculously comfy. Rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. They even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all with the biggest discounts ever. MyPillow is also extending their money-back guarantee until March. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. Use promo code Amy, and you'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including those amazing Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98 while quantities last. And don't forget to use promo code Amy for the best possible discounts available.
AM 560, The Answer.
Kamala Harris. We've brought you this before, but there's a new offering, a new addition to her commitment to Venn diagrams. This in a conversation with Jennifer Granholm, the Energy Secretary.
Think of the movement through the lens of something I love, which is to always think about complex issues through the frame of a Venn diagram. I love Venn diagrams.
Just marry it then.
I do. I love Venn diagrams. So
it's nerdy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, nerdy.
So the three circles, and you can do more. Nobody says a Venn diagram has to only be three circles, right? And the intersection then, right? In terms of also movements.
If you haven't heard more about Kamala Harris's fandom when it comes to Venn diagrams, you're in luck. We've got other examples of this. This is the sophisticate that is waiting in the wings to take over for Mr. 10%. Don't forget.
Remember Venn diagrams, those three circles, right? And then let's just see where they overlap. You will not be surprised because I have constructed a Venn diagram on this. Remember those three circles, how they overlap? I love Venn diagrams, so I just do. Whenever you're dealing with conflict, pull out a Venn diagram, right? And so, the three circles. And so I asked my team, right? They're fantastic. Out right now he sees the Venn diagram of it all. He sees that there are those circles, and maybe people seem that they're a little different. They live in different parts of the country. They may be different age or different race. But that area in the middle, that overlap. I asked my team to do a Venn diagram of where these attacks are happening. So voting rights, women's reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights. And, of course, there was a huge intersection. I asked my team to do a Venn diagram for me of where we are seeing attacks and who are the attacks against and the similarity. And when you look at a diagram of just a Venn diagram in that regard, it tells a real tale.
It's funny because as I was thinking about that, because Venn diagrams solve all complex problems, you have to be a real geek, real nerd, real intellect to understand the Venn diagram. I was thinking about this, and she's right. I just did a Venn diagram of cipher, ignoramus, and whore, and the overlap is Kamala Harris.
Oh. Okay. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to Texas Tech econ professor Timothy Fitzgerald, Texas Tech, the Red Raiders.
Yes.
About inflation. In 2022, we had 6 months of inflation increases and then 6 months of inflation decreases. So the real question is, where does that number stabilize? That's 636.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
32 degrees at 6:32 on AM 560, The Answer. 7 are dead, a dozen more injured after tornadoes tore through Alabama and Georgia on Thursday.
A lot of wind was going around the building and on the roof. I can feel it. Everything is shaking so hard. And all of a sudden I hear the bang noise.
Tornado that hit Selma, Alabama, destroyed homes, tore off roofs, and uprooted trees in that historic city. That FAA software that grounded flights across the U.S. on Wednesday is 30 years old and reportedly won't be upgraded for another 6 years. A source telling CNN that Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg has met with the FAA and made it clear that he wants the software updated a lot faster. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointing a special counsel to oversee the investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents.
Robert Hur is taking on the role after serving as U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland during the Trump administration. The announcement comes after Biden's private attorneys found the materials with classified markings, which date back to the Obama administration, at the Penn Biden Center in Washington, D.C., and in storage at his Delaware home. Attorneys said in both cases they turned over the materials to the National Archives once they were discovered. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Chicago federal prosecutor John Lausch is stepping down. We learned that from Attorney General Merrick Garland announcing yesterday that Lausch would leave office early this year.
When I first contacted Mr. Lausch about this matter, he said he could lead the initial investigation, but would be unable to accept any longer-term assignment because he would be leaving the department in early 2023 for the private sector.
Lausch had been initially asked by Garland to review the documents. He's been U.S. attorney since 2017. Mayor Lightfoot apologizing after her campaign sent out emails to CPS teachers for the purpose of recruiting student volunteers for her re-election campaign.
As soon as I learned about the outreach to the CPS teachers, we put a stop to it. Bottom line here is it was clearly a mistake.
Lightfoot's comments follow a public backlash. And Italian authorities this morning are accusing action movie director Michael Bay of killing a pigeon. The bird was apparently killed on the set of Bay's 2018 Netflix movie, 6 Underground, which was shot in Italy, where pigeons are apparently a protected species. The report says the bird was killed by a camera dolly and reported by someone who took a picture of the animal, then gave it to police, who are now pressing charges against Michael Bay. Blackhawks 3-2 winners over Colorado at the UC. Bulls take on OKC tonight. Tomorrow, the Northwestern Wildcats, actually Sunday, visit the Michigan Wolverines, who lost to Iowa last night. The news is a service of the Salem Podcast Network. Hear the latest podcast episodes from Charlie Kirk, Trish Regan, many more. Subscribe free at salempodcastnetwork.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum explains the strategy.
I think I have the diagnoses of how black people get tricked all the time by Democrats. The Democrats have not done anything that makes any sense for the black community. They don't care. They told you what you wanted to hear to take advantage of you. All they want is your vote. All they want is power and control. And they're going to do whatever they want to do after they get it.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Watching your hard-earned dollars fly out the window on healthcare costs is so frustrating. But here's some great news. If you missed the December 7th deadline for open enrollment, it's not too late. Here's something that can really help. It's MediShare 65 Plus. MediShare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills. It's people who encourage and pray for each other, too. MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation, too. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years. Plus, it's easy. You can use any Medicare-approved doctor or get 24/7 telehealth access from the comfort of your home. So worth looking into. MediShare 65 Plus is open for enrollment, and if you join right now, before January 31st, your second month will be free. So don't miss this chance. Call 855-SHARE-44. That's 855-SHARE-44. 855-SHARE-44.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
.638, and let's get an update on the roads. It's an update of Discover. We could talk about how complicated other banks make it to redeem credit card rewards, or we could talk about how with Discover you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. It's amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. We'll start on the Reagan, where there is an accident with a left lane block eastbound at Salmonock Road. Tri-State jamming up northbound between the Reagan, I-88, and the outbound Eisenhower merge. Bishop Ford, problem spot inbound 103rd to the Dan Ryan Expressway. Aiken now heavy and slow between Manheim and Ridgeland, 30 minutes in from 390 to the old post office. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, cloudy, breezy with a snow shower, and a high of 31. Partly cloudy and 22 overnight. 32 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So consumer price index rose 6.5% in December. It's year over year. In 2022, we had the first 6 months where price increases, inflation increased.
Right.
And the last 6 months, inflation decreased. The average CPI for 2022. So now prices are stabilizing down, but the question is, at what level do prices stabilize in 2023 and 2024? 4%, 5%? We still have a real Fed funds rate that's negative, so Fed policy remains highly stimulative, and Powell, the mystic who heads the Fed, has said the Fed will continue to move in a restrictive direction. So where does this go? By the way, that's looking at the overall, but those of you who go to grocery stores, I'm not one of them.
I am.
Food, the CPI for food at home, it's down, but it's still at 11.3% year over year.
You can't even find eggs. I tried to find eggs yesterday, and they're up 60% from what they were last year. You can even get your hands on some.
Yeah, there's a whole that's a specific good where there's a whole argument going on between the farmers and the grocery store chains. But the larger question of irrational exuberance about a steady, albeit incremental, decline in inflation over the last 6 months.
There's nothing to celebrate. Guess how much? All right, I want you to answer this question. Family of 4, we went to McDonald's. Nobody ordered anything extravagant. Guess how much it cost?
Can you order anything extravagant at McDonald's?
Well, you could, add on a shake or a McFlurry or.
Okay.
$60. Potbellies, the 4 of us, $72. I mean, that's a. I'm sorry. That's reality, folks.
I've noticed the price of my Chateaubriand has ticked up a bit too, and I wasn't happy about that.
Stop it.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Timothy Fitzgerald. He's a professor of business econ at Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, the home of, alma mater of Pat Mahomes.
Oh, that's
in case you're thinking of NFL
the guy
playoffs.
we passed up on the draft. Yeah.
Yeah, we
that
thought
guy. Him and
Trubisky
Deshaun
would work
Watson.
out better.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
He also served as the chief international economist at the White House Council of Econ Advisors in 17 and 18. Professor Fitzgerald, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be with you.
So what about the stabilization of prices? We're seeing this incremental decline that I described, but where does it stop? I guess in part that's predicated on where does Jay Powell stop with moving in a restrictive direction?
I think actually, one of the things that I focus on is the fuels market, and one factor that has helped drive inflation has been oil prices. And oil prices exploded in 2022 in part because of recovery around the world, but also because of the war in Ukraine and geopolitical tension around that. And we had a period of very high crude oil prices, which led to high prices at the pump for gasoline consumers. fortunately for the holidays, those consumers were able to enjoy a little bit of price break as we go into the holidays, and that's helping to take some of the momentum out of broader inflation measures across the economy.
But the gas prices are back up. I mean, here in Chicago is about $2.99 before Christmas, and then after Christmas we got back and it's $3.79 again. And I know they've added some state taxes that were due, but what's that about?
Well, one of the key things to remember in the oil market is that no consumers actually buy crude oil, right? Everybody needs gasoline or diesel or maybe even indirectly, you're going to consume heating oil or jet fuel or something like that. And so the refining capacity is crucial to understanding how the price at the pump is going to evolve. One of the really interesting things when you look at the refining sector is to notice the dramatic reduction in overall capacity for oil refining across the country over the last couple of years.
And that's but I mean, and let's understand why that is, because of course the president has explained it to us, as have many members of Congress. That's evil oil companies trying to artificially inflate the price of gasoline to rapaciously fleece the American people so that they can go to their golf clubs on their private jets, right?
Well, you use more adverbs than I do. It is clearly the case that reducing the amount of available refining capacity is not going to help the consumer.
And
as we see refineries close and not reopen, it just leaves consumers more and more at
companies making those decisions.
Well, it could cost money to run a refinery. Mm-hmm. And as oil companies earn profits, they reinvest some of those profits back into updating and expanding refineries. Refining margins are getting pressed. Costs are going up. Financing costs are going up. Other kinds of compliance costs are going up. And politicians are talking about trying to seize windfall profits from the oil companies. All three of those factors together all point in the same direction. Less refining capacity and more exposure of the consumer to volatility in the crude oil market being translated to volatility at the pump. And furthermore, what you were talking about before, with that then plays into inflation and just makes it harder to keep the cost of everything from, eggs to soup to nuts, all the way through the economy is going to depend on the price of fuel.
When you make capital investments, you're looking long-term, particularly investments on that scale with respect to refining capacity. Is part of the explanation also the big three automakers in this country all moving in the direction of not producing gas-powered automobiles anymore? All the three big automakers here are talking about EVs in the near term for as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, I think that's actually a big part of it. But it is important to remember that even if we get to a place where it's hard to buy a brand new internal combustion engine, people are going to continue to buy and sell internal combustion powered vehicles in the secondary market. And so we're not going to be, quote unquote, off of oil in some short politically motivated horizon. This transition may take place. I mean, we're heading more and more in that direction. EVs are getting better, but they're still not a perfect solution for everyone. I mean, you all live in Chicago, right? You know that it gets cold there, and you know that the range anxiety for EVs goes way up when you got to run the heat in the car. Mm-hmm. And more even than that, think about how much it costs to buy a new EV. It's multiples of what it costs to buy a gas-powered car. And so the people who are able to afford the luxury of an EV can be insulated from gasoline prices, but regular people and working people are going to continue to be susceptible to the variation in the oil and gasoline markets That's the point that I think is really important, because, as you point out, the oil companies are looking at the long-term demand and saying, well, maybe it is and maybe it isn't worth making these kind of investments, particularly in an environment where it's a little bit harder to do so because of financing costs or other kinds of compliance costs for the refining industry.
Yeah, and of course it bedevils me to no end that you have people who are working people who are more impacted, subject to, negatively impacted by these policies, underwriting, five-figure subsidies for people to buy $90,000 EVs. That reverse Robin Hood from all of those would-be Robin Hoods is interesting to me as well.
If you could find me a 5-figure EV, I'd be excited. I mean, they're open to 6 figures.
Right.
Yeah, right. Fair point. One other thing too, this stopgap measure. Well, that's what I'm terming it. You tell me if that's accurate. The stopgap measure by the Biden administration to go to Venezuela to get oil supply to go to the Saudis and beg OPEC for more production. This is a way to avoid having to encourage, incentivize, increase refining capacity here, because we want to move in the direction of EVs. We want to move in the direction of the marginalization of fossil fuels. And so in the interim, we'll just go to, theocracies and dictatorships in South America to get our oil supply.
Yeah, but remember that that's buying crude oil. Okay, and so then we're going to bring that to the United States and try to refine it in our refining complex. We don't have the capacity to add more oil. It doesn't matter whether we buy the oil on the market from places that we don't share our values, or if we encourage more production at home. We're still going to hit that refining capacity constraint. Let me give you a really good example of that. In the summer, the administration was very concerned about how oil prices were high after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and so they tapped into a stockpile of crude oil that's called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, that is basically a buffer for oil markets. It turned out that as they released that oil from the reserve, they had to export the oil because there were no U.S. refiners who were able to take on that extra capacity. And so it doesn't matter whether that comes out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or if we buy it from Venezuela, or if we produce it ourselves here in Texas or in the Gulf or wherever in the United States, without the entire supply chain for fuels from crude oil all the way to the gasoline pump, then we're not going to have the ability to actually help the end consumer, and we're going to lack the ability to control a key factor that's driving inflation across the entire economy.
So should Americans expect the sort of volatility and then spike in prices that we saw last summer, again this summer and into the future, until this capacity issue is resolved one way or the other?
I think you would be naive to think that gasoline prices are going to remain low as we head deeper into 2023. And furthermore, if we don't do something about the refining capacity, I think we can expect these swings in gasoline prices attributable to refining capacity constraints for the foreseeable future. I mean, we're probably at least decades away from really beginning to have an energy transition that's going to help the average American. And it's great that people who have 4 or 5 cars can have an EV parked in their driveway and feel good about it. But until the people who have to use a vehicle to get around can actually get to where they're not going to depend on having fuel in the tank and have a viable electric vehicle option, then I think you're going to look at continued swings in these gasoline prices that are attributable to the refining capacity that we're losing.
Well, I mean, as long as Gavin Newsom feels good about himself, that's the important thing to me. Timothy Fitzgerald is professor of business econ at Texas Tech. He served as the chief international economist at the White House's Council of Econ Advisors in 17 and 18. Professor Fitzgerald, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's triumph in gaining the gavel after 15 ballots was perhaps sweeter than anyone not named McCarthy knows, because it was so very hard to gain and because it was so long in coming. McCarthy's road to victory began long before his first bid for the Speaker's gavel came up short in 2015. It began before McCarthy joined the House in 2007, even before he was elected to the California State Assembly in 2002. Perhaps it began when McCarthy was still in college and he started as a staffer for Bill Thomas, the California Republican in the House for whom he worked for 15 years. McCarthy won because enough Republicans know the value of their party and the work that it takes to build it. As the new Speaker distributes the fruits of his long struggle, McCarthy won't be punishing anyone. He'll be rewarding those who appreciate the value of political parties. The margins in the House are narrow. The challenges are great. We wish Republicans and Speaker McCarthy well.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Small businesses need an advantage to gain success these days. For many small businesses in Chicagoland, that's Salem Surround, AM 560 The Answer's in-house digital agency that works with hundreds of small businesses just like yours. Here's how Salem Surround is helping one local business thrive.
This is Vince DePaul, owner of Your House Real Estate Academy in Bloomingdale. We've been working with Salem Surround for 3 years now. Their full-service marketing team created a digital plan designed to generate new students. They've helped to demystify pay-per-click marketing and create brand awareness with display media that reaches our primary market. If you're interested in becoming a real estate broker, start your career at yourhouseacademy.com today.
Salem Surround connects your business with potential customers at every stage of their path to purchasing your product. Want to grow your business? Visit surroundchicago.com. That's surroundchicago.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Okay, now at 7:05, being now, we're going to have Kevin Brock, former Assistant Director of Intel for the FBI, to talk about the two presidents and their handlings of classified information, as well as some of the other topics we talked about, like where's the FBI in cracking the cases of all the pregnancy centers that were firebombed and vandalized after the Dobbs decision was leaked last summer. That's at 7:07.
Will we ever find out who the leaker is? But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Fox will have it. We'll cover it. The death overnight of one of the co-founders of Bachman Turner Overdrive. Robbie Bachman has passed away this morning. We'll have more details on that as well. As we follow a Schaumburg business damaged by fire, a worker dying after a building collapse in Bronzeville, and the Blackhawks rallying past the Avs. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
They'll get a better look at how bad the damage is with the sunrise. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Selma, Alabama, and surrounding areas hit hard by tornadoes.
Glass going everywhere. You could hear the roof literally being torn off right over our head.
At least 6 people were killed there. One of the twisters cut a 20-mile path of destruction. At least a dozen other people severely injured among all the damage. Parts of Georgia hit too.
Everybody knew that there was something bad happening outside, and then our whole wall come down.
In Jackson, a tree fell on a car, killing a 5-year-old boy inside. The music and entertainment world paying tribute to Lisa Marie Presley, mourning her death.
She was very sweet. I loved and respected her father.
That's country star Larry Gatlin. Lisa Marie Presley was Elvis's only child. In the 1990s, she was married to Michael Jackson, and she was a singer-songwriter herself.
LA County first responders were called to Presley's Calabasas home just before 11 a.m. for a woman in full cardiac arrest and unresponsive. Paramedics arrived 6 minutes later and performed CPR, regaining signs of life, and then taking her to a nearby hospital.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer reports Presley died there. She was just 54, survived by 3 daughters. Russia's claiming it's taken over a town in eastern Ukraine, Soledar, which Ukraine disputes.
The country's deputy defense minister said Ukrainian troops were still fighting back. Thursday, National Security Council coordinator John Kirby said Russian forces taking over the area would not have a strategic impact on the war itself. It is right near the town of Bakhmut, which Russia sees as significant in its effort to control the entire eastern Donbass area.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. A special counsel is now investigating classified documents found in an old Biden office, then at the president's Delaware home, dating back to when he was vice president. House Republicans will investigate, too. Congressman Michael McCall tells Fox they were all found last year.
And yet nothing was done about it, and they swept this under the rug. They hid it until it was leaked to the media.
America's listening to Fox News.
We still have some flurries crossing the area. 32 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A business in Schaumburg is destroyed after catching fire. No word on injuries. The blaze broke out at a facility near Lunt Avenue and Rodenberg Road. A worker is dead after being trapped in a building that collapsed in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood. 3 workers were in the building, 1 unaccounted for when firefighters arrived. That worker later died at an area hospital. Mayor Lightfoot forced to apologize after her campaign sent out emails to Chicago public school teachers for the purpose of recruiting student volunteers for her re-election campaign.
As soon as I learned about the outreach to the CPS teachers, We put a stop to it. Bottom line here is it was clearly a mistake.
2 men are accused of causing a police standoff that involved a SWAT team in Chicago's Old Town neighborhood. They now face criminal offenses. Trevor Garland and Anthony Ramsey have been charged. A growing number of elected county officials say they will not enforce the gun ban in registry. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker enacted this week. Pritzker, at an event on Thursday, reiterated the fact that if they will not enforce the ban, they should resign.
They took an oath of office to uphold the law. As law enforcement, that's their job, and I expect them to do that job.
Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell says he won't jail people who solely violate the ban, and his oath is to uphold the Constitution.
Just because they had enough votes to pass this, time will tell whether or not it upholds constitutional scrutiny, but that doesn't mean we have to enforce it if we clearly know this is a violation of our Second Amendment rights.
It's expected gun owners' rights groups will file suit in federal court against the measure as early as next week. Taylor Radish provided the game winner for the Blackhawks in a 3-2 win over Colorado. Bulls will host OKC at the United Center later on tonight. Fighting Illini go for a Big Ten win when they host Michigan State at the State Farm Center tonight. The news, a service of the Salem Podcast Network, with episodes from Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Todd Starnes, and many more. Subscribe free, salempodcastnetwork.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions, like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip, or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
And now a small business setback, as assessed by a beloved family pediatrician.
Oh, hey, Tiger. Big scary tree branch give your work truck a boo-boo? Yeah. Wow. See this thing on my phone here? It's the Progressive mobile app. Just push that little button there and report your claim. Attaboy.
When owning a small business gets painful, Progressive Commercial is here to make it all better. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
What's this? Candy drawer? Who wants a lollipop?
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions. Photo claims not available in all states or situations.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a physician, and I still see patients every day. And, so I tell my patients about this. And they ask me, well, what are you taking? And so I tell them, taking Balance of Nature. And they go, oh, yeah, I've heard about that. So I tell them how to get it. I give them your telephone number, 246-8751. And I tell them, call this number. And I said, they'll take care of you after that. So, I'm primary care. I really think that it works well for people to have fruits and vegetables.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of the Daybreak Insider podcast. Subscribe free today, daybreakinsider.com. Kennedy inbound 24 minutes O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound 24 back out to O'Hare. Ike in 35 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson right now ringing up at about a half hour, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Tri-State disabled vehicle right-hand lane, northbound on 294, right at about North Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Breezy, cloudy, snow shower today, high 31. It'll be partly cloudy tonight, low 22. A sunny day tomorrow, the high 37. Sunny clouds on Sunday morning, cloudy and breezy by the afternoon, the high 43. Rain Monday, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Temperatures dropping just a little bit, 31 at O'Hare, 31 Lakefront. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Phil Wegman from RealClearPolitics.com, among those in the White House press corps, querying White House spokeshuman KJP yesterday about the second trove of documents, which we knew had been discovered and reported, but as of yesterday's show, we didn't know where they were located or the nature of those documents. We know more after yesterday, where it was disclosed the documents were in the big guy's garage, in the big guy's library. But look, if his garage is safe enough for his vintage vet, then it's safe enough for America's secrets. That's what I say.
Classified material next to your Corvette? What were you thinking?
Oh, I love it.
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage.
Oh,
okay,
God.
so it's not like you're sitting out in the street. But at any rate, yes, as well as my Corvette. But as I said earlier this week, people know I take classified documents and classified material seriously.
Obviously.
Oh, I mean,
you don't think he wants to protect his vet? Is that what you're saying?
And the vet, by the way, was a wedding gift from his father, just so you know. It's a 67 Corvette.
So touching. Who has the remote controls who has the garage door openers?
Yeah, there you
to
go.
The Biden. All right, so here's Phil Wegman now with that disclosure, following up with KJP to understand a few things and get the typical and repetitive process arguments that KJP has been hiding behind for the last 3 days.
The position of the White House that legally the president could have just held on to these?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they did the right thing, period. I wouldn't read into it. I'm saying that they did the right thing and they did it voluntarily, because it is the right thing to do when you find these types of documents, to indeed reach out to the archivists and reach out to the Department of Justice. So they, and outside of that, they have been cooperating very closely with the Department of Justice. It is and rightfully so, they did this.
See, she said she said in the press conference, the lawyers did the right thing and they didn't have to. Well, actually, they did have to. But then she said, well, don't worry about whether they had to or not. The important thing is that they did the right thing. So then, did the president do the wrong thing, or whoever was responsible for moving classified information from the White House to his home, to his phony think tank? Did they do the wrong thing? We don't know yet, because there's a review going on, and she won't answer that question. Any idea how many people had access to those documents?
Does the administration have any idea, between the garage and the Biden pen office, just how many people could have gotten their hands on this? Or, are we to assume that the White House doesn't have an estimate? That
There's an ongoing review on this, and I would refer
review
to the Department of Justice.
Mm-hmm. That's
see here, ongoing review.
Part of their commitment to transparency. Again, the watchword: seriously, inadvertently, and transparently. Those are the three pillars of the Biden administration's handling of classified information. She was asked again about Mr. 10%'s statement the other day that he was told by lawyers not to ask about the documents, and then he sort of intimated the same thing yesterday when he said, someday soon, God willing, I'll be able to talk about this, as if it depends on God rather than just your forthrightness. This is her response.
The president has said that his lawyers have advised him not to ask what was in these classified documents. I don't understand the purpose of that. He's the president of the United States. He has access
Because
to all
we're trying to
classified
do this by the book. We're trying to do this in the appropriate way. And so that's what I would say to you. We have his team has been complying, right, cooperating with the Department of Justice, and I will leave it there. I'm not going to go beyond.
The book says that he can't look at this. What would compel him or push him in that direction? Because you've said it repeatedly. What, I guess, as he tries to do this by the book, as he tries to do the right thing, what are his lawyers looking at that says, don't look at this classified information that was found?
Again, there's a process here. The process is that when the lawyers found that these documents existed, they reached out to the archive and also the Department of Justice. That is the process, and they have been cooperating closely, working closely with the Department of Justice. And now, as you've heard, the Attorney General made a statement today, and so I would refer you to them. All right, everybody. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap. That's all I can take for one day. So again, classified information was inadvertently moved around all over the place, from the White House to the House to the phony think tank. That happened inadvertently. Though, remember, he takes the handling of classified information very seriously, at least as seriously as keeping his vintage vet in mint condition. And that was so he's serious. It was inadvertent. And then this whole effort from the discovery of these documents, we don't know what prompted it, back pre-election, has been a exercise in transparency, even though we weren't told about it until this week, even though we weren't told about the second trove of documents that was discovered in December, even though earlier this week Karine Jean-Pierre knew about the second trove of documents, but she played coy about it.
Oh, she lied.
These are all illustrations of the Biden administration's commitment to transparency. So again, they take it seriously. They've been transparent. And to the extent that anything inappropriate happened, it happened inadvertently by some people we don't know who.
And he's had these documents for 6 years, folks. And there was also, besides the office and then his garage near the Corvette, one document was also found, quote, in stored materials in an adjacent room.
Right. And I think Colonel Mustard was in that room.
With the pipe wrench.
Kevin Brock, former Assistant Director of Intel for the FBI, former Principal Deputy Director of the National Counterterrorism Center, joins us. Kevin, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan and Amy. Nice to be with you. I understand that the Corvette is being polygraphed this morning to make sure that it didn't spread any of that sensitive information. Yeah,
it's interesting because, I think you're going to appreciate this comparison. You and Hank Johnson are right on the same wavelength. Representative Hank Johnson, who famously worried about Guam capsizing with too many Marines being deployed there, he has the same thing. Are we looking at everybody? This is a great Law and Order episode. You're looking at Joe Biden. You're looking at his inner circle. What about the Corvette? What about a false flag operation? Listen, Kevin.
But I'm suspicious of the timing of it. I'm also aware of the fact that things can be planted on people. Places and things can be planted. Things can be planted in places.
See, Kevin, you may not understand this as only a former assistant director of Intel, counterintel FBI. So things can be planted at places. There are places where things can be planted, and could be Trump, could be Mark Furman, could be some sort of a vast right-wing conspiracy, false flag operation. We don't know.
Well, thank you for comparing me to Hank Johnson. I appreciate that.
I thought you would.
Yeah. He's Joe Biden has got a problem here. He effectively, and others have said this, but it's true. He's blown up any chance of a case against Donald Trump by the Department of Justice. If they were thinking of charging Trump, I don't think they seriously were. But if they were, that's gone away. Joe Biden could declassify those documents now that he's president. And he couldn't when he was vice president, but now he could. But how can he do that without exonerating or supporting Donald Trump's position in his case? Look, the press spokesperson for the president isn't entirely wrong. There is a process for reporting mishandling of classified information. It happens all the time, unfortunately, and the process is pretty benign, and people are, they understand that these things happen. But And so that, again, gives rise to the question, why was Donald Trump's house raided in an early morning search warrant when it was unnecessary to do so? And I maintain that to this day. But there's two dynamics here, Dan, is that you've got the mishandling of classified information, which the Republicans understandably are going to they're going to wring every bit of political hay they can out of that, and they're doing so now. But it has also drawn attention to this Penn-Biden Center that was stood up after Joe Biden left the vice presidency. They hired him, paid him nearly $1 million over 2 years to be a once-in-a-while show-up professor. And during that time frame, the Chinese government donates about close to $50 million to the University of Pennsylvania. And then, they decided early in 2022, 160 of their faculty decided to write an open letter complaining about the FBI's very successful China Initiative, which is a counterintelligence program targeting hostile Chinese intelligence activities targeting U.S. universities. They complain about it, saying that it's biased and racially profiling. And after posting that letter, I guess they suddenly realized that most Chinese citizens are Asian, and how did the FBI miss that?
Yeah,
so they complain about this program that is materially impacting and affecting in a negative way Chinese intelligence operations in this country. And 2 weeks after complaining, Biden's DOJ tells the FBI to shut down the program.
Well, Fox and NBC. Oh, sorry. Go on. I didn't mean to.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, Fox and NBC say the first trove of documents that were found in his locked office in the closet there pertain to Ukraine, the UK, and Iran. Do you know any more about that?
No, not more than what's been publicized. Not much has been released on that. Obviously, Ukraine raises the antenna a little bit because his son had dealings with Ukraine, business dealings, and Joe Biden was supposedly on point in the Obama administration for dealing with the Ukraine, which he did famously by having one of their prosecutors fired, a prosecutor who was looking into the activities of his son. All of this creates entanglements for Biden and his administration. And suddenly you start looking at the way the administration is handling China and some of the issues surrounding China and realizing, wow, they're not being very aggressive against China in issues like, fentanyl delivery through the cartels, the COVID origination and spread, the fact that China is trying to build 2 ports in the Western Hemisphere under our nose that are military capable in El Salvador and Argentina, without pushback, whatever happened to the Monroe Doctrine, you start to wonder, and then they squash this highly effective FBI counterintelligence program after their sponsor, the Biden Penn sponsor, complains.
And also on the China piece too, Tucker Carlson reported earlier this week emails from Hunter Biden's laptop that are publicly accessible. One of them is a professor at Penn inviting Hunter Biden's daughter at the behest of some Chinese communist higher up to attend a conference in Beijing as their guest. And so, these entanglements between Biden Inc. and Ukraine and China, and then we have classified information, reportedly at least about Ukraine. Who knows if there are documents that relate to China as well, and all this money is being funneled to where Joe Biden gets a sinecure, an academic sinecure. Yeah, that does start to raise some questions. I hope the Department of Justice, that special counsel, will investigate pending his review of those documents.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
But these are concerning, and you raise a good point there that they're bending over backwards to curry favor with the Biden. So the storage, the casual and irresponsible storage of classified information at his home and at the Penn Biden Center becomes more intriguing once we know the nature of those documents and was there information on those classified documents that helps support Hunter Biden's consulting arrangements that he had with entities in the Ukraine and in China, were they kept on purpose, or was it truly an inadvertent storage? There's no reason to bring classified document to the Penn Biden Center. There's nothing they can do with it. They can't even talk about what's on the documents with people who are not cleared. So why have them there in the first place?
But why were the documents separated out? Some over here in his office, some in the garage, one in another adjacent room to the garage.
Yeah. The American people must be just totally aghast at what appears to be some very casual handling of very sensitive documents, one of which was classified as SCI, Special Compartmented Information. To get that clearance, you have to go through a rigorous counterintelligence polygraph, which I've been through. They're no fun. And so it is at the highest level of clearance. And to find that just, included with a bunch of documents in a locked closet breaks every rule of storage there is.
Well, and the other thing, too, is this whole Biden has these documents at his home, in his library, but he doesn't know what they are, and he's been advised by his attorneys to not ask about what they are. I mean, he acts like something he didn't know was there was discovered. Well, that's exactly what they're saying. They were inadvertently put there somehow by someone, and Biden doesn't know anything about them. That seems to me to strain the bounds of credulity as well.
It does. I hope he's right. He's in a difficult position to prove that position, and it's difficult to disprove it. But the merging of all of these, the confluence of these factors, where you have an incredible amount of money given to the University of Pennsylvania at the same time that they've established this Penn Biden Center and hired him as a professor. Later, he becomes president. People complain about a program that's hurting China, and it suddenly goes away because the Biden administration makes it go away.
Yeah,
it just smells.
That's a problem.
It smells.
And the other thing too is, who made the decision to take the documents in the first place? So Biden wasn't apprised of that. There were no discussions about we're going to take these boxes of documents that relate to these topic areas. He doesn't know anything about that. People just do things spontaneously around him that he doesn't know anything about, and he has he doesn't have use for, or he doesn't lack use for them. They just happen.
Well, in his favor is the fact that we watched him for 2 years be very confused over a lot of things, and so it almost becomes believable.
Right? Who was it? Gigante? Was that the mob boss that walked around Manhattan in a robe to try to convey that he was insane, and so he couldn't be held legally culpable for what he did? Maybe that's what we're going to see next. Before we let you go, I wanted to tackle a couple other topics too that are FBI related. Sure. I hate to always make you defend the FBI, but the story out, and we can't forget about this. Last summer, after the Dobbs decision was leaked, there's 78 bombings to acts of vandalism against pro-life offices, pregnancy care centers around the country. And there have been 0 arrests by the FBI. The pro-life community is so unimpressed with the FBI's efforts here that they're in the process of hiring their own private investigators to try to identify parties that are responsible. And so if a crossword is said at a school board meeting, then Ray and Garland are scrambling choppers in amphibious vehicles. You have 78 acts of vandalism against groups that are affiliated with a particular policy position, and nobody's interested.
I'm with you on this. I've written about it. It's one of my soapboxes. This speaks to the perception problem that the FBI has right now. They'll send 20 armed agents in tactical gear to arrest a Catholic homeschool father who was protesting outside an abortion facility and got into a confrontation with one of the sports staff there. He gets the full treatment of a tactical arrest early in the morning, and you've got nearly 100 attacks on pro-life pregnancy counseling centers and Catholic churches, vandalism, serious fire bombings, that type of thing, and no arrest yet. The whole issue around Jane's Revenge, which claims credit for many of these attacks, sets up beautifully for for the FBI's wheelhouse. This is what the FBI does. They determine if there's an organized group out there, no matter how loosely organized group out there, creating or conducting domestic terrorism against U.S. entities. That's what the FBI does. That's what they're good at. This sets up well. It shouldn't be hard for the FBI to determine who's behind Jane's Revenge and start developing informants in that group, flipping people, and dismantling them under the RICO statutes of this country. The fact that it hasn't been done yet either indicates that these people are uncannily good, more so than any other domestic terrorism group that's existed in this country, or it's just not getting the full force of attention that it could be. Now, it could be that the FBI is conducting investigations, bringing cases to the U.S. Attorney's offices, and they're just not getting the attention they need out of the Department of Justice. We don't know yet. I hope that's the case.
I
wouldn't be surprised.
This is against the backdrop yesterday of 210 out of 211 House Democrats who voted against legislation that would mandate care for a child who is born alive and survives a botched abortion. So maybe that the perspective of that party on that issue is informing the perspective of DOJ and or FBI on the issue of violence directed at Catholic churches and pro-life organizations. Gee, I wonder.
Right, and a similar number voted against a resolution to condemn the attacks on these pregnancy counseling centers and the Catholic churches. So, it's when you've got a whole political party and unified against anything that could, that they interpret as harming women's reproductive rights, that's a big pressure. And, the FBI traditionally has done the right thing and investigated crimes no matter who's behind it. And I hope this results in the same outcome, but it's frustrating right now.
He is Kevin Brock, former Assistant Director of Intelligence for the FBI, former Principal Deputy Director of the National Counterterrorism Center as well. Kevin Brock, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
AM 560, The Answer.
And Dan, you're discussing that issue that passed on the House floor yesterday. Andrea Mitchell stopped a reporter who used the word pro-life. She's like, we don't say that. It literally interrupted his report when he's talking about pro-life legislators.
Sounds about right.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, United States Marine recon veteran Chad Robichaux, founder of the Mighty Oaks Warrior Program and the best-selling author of a new book, Saving Aziz, How the Mission to Help One Became a Calling to Rescue Thousands from the Taliban. That's at 7:37.
But now into the newsroom we go. A very busy morning once again for Mike Scott.
Flurries and 32 degrees. Roads are wet, and there's been some delays because of the ongoing flurry action this morning. Attorney General Merrick Garland Thursday appointed a special counsel to oversee the investigation into handling President Biden's handling of classified documents from his tenure as vice president.
Robert Hur is taking on the role after serving as U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland during the Trump administration. The announcement comes after Biden's private attorneys found the materials with classified markings, which date back to the Obama administration, at the Penn Biden Center in Washington, D.C., and in storage at his Delaware home. Attorneys said in both cases they turned over the materials to the National Archives once they were discovered. I'm Mark Mayfield.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says Congress must investigate President Biden's storage of classified documents.
Here's an individual that sat on 60 Minutes that was so concerned about President Trump's documents locked in behind, and now we find it just as a vice president, keeping it for years out in the open in different locations.
In other news we're following this morning, 7 are dead, a dozen more injured after tornadoes ripped through Alabama and Georgia on Thursday. The House has passed a bill banning sales of crude oil from the nation's Strategic Petroleum Reserve to China. Thursday's vote was 331 to 97, 113 Democrats joining in. Former Kentucky swimmer Riley Gaines led a group of about 24 demonstrators outside of the NCAA convention. The women were protesting the inclusion of transgender athletes in women's sports. They also threatened the NCAA with legal action if it doesn't change policies. 2 enormous lottery jackpots are up for grabs in the next couple of days. Up first tonight, the Mega Millions. A business in suburban Schaumburg is destroyed after catching fire. No word of injuries. And a worker is dead after being trapped in a building that collapsed in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood yesterday afternoon. The co-founder of the Bachman-Turner Overdrive group has passed away. You recall the song? One of many top 40 hits by BTO. Robbie Bachman was the drummer for the Canadian rock band that sold millions and millions of records in the 1970s. His brother, guitarist Randy Bachman, broke the news on Twitter on Thursday, saying maybe Jeff Beck needs a drummer. Blackhawks 3-2 winners over Colorado at the UC. The Bulls are back at the UC taking on Oklahoma City tonight. The news is a service of the Daybreak Insider podcast. Hear the latest reporting and analysis of the day's most important stories each weekday morning on the Daybreak Insider podcast. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
Does this country even represent itself? How it used to be? Have we become so used to fascism, so used to political whores and pimps and open and notorious bribery, that a scoundrel like Kevin McCarthy would even be considered, which goes to show you just how systemic the corruption is in this country.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Thousands of young people are dying from counterfeit prescription drugs laced with lethal doses of fentanyl.
Never take a pill unless it comes from your pharmacist. We lost my 18-year-old son who had a very bright future ahead of him, and it was stolen.
Just one counterfeit pill laced with fentanyl can kill. Visit onepillkilled.org.
onepillkilled.org.
onepillkilled.org to learn more.
Some people got COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes. And that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need.
7:38. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Cabino Environmental. Home and business owners use the Cabino Oil Stain Remover. It's the most powerful oil stain lifting formula on the market. Cabino Oil Stain Remover is available at all 8 Rental Max locations. Inbound Eden, 17 Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound, 30 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Outbound, Kennedy jams up between Central and Sayre. Stevenson, 41 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 22 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Cloudy, breezy with a snow shower, high 31. 31 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Do we need more women in public office? And I say that just because they're women. Got an interesting local story out of Lake Forest.
Oh, leafy Lake Forest.
Suburban enclave.
Where your new next girlfriend lives.
Yeah. Okay, take it easy.
And for those who don't know this, a listener yesterday suggested a gal pal for Dan, and she lives in Lake Forest.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay.
We'll leave it at there. Yeah.
Don't want to alienate listeners.
Okay.
More than I already do.
You're good at it, though.
Prudence Beidler. She admires her opponent for mayor of Lake Forest. His name is Dr. Randy Tack. When the two Lake Forest mayoral hopefuls served together on the city council, Prudence praised Dr. Randy's utter commitment to the community. She said he taught her to keep an open mind, how to look at things from a different point of view. Now, she said, it's time for Dr. Randy to go. She can't support him. Even though he secured the endorsement of the coveted endorsement of the Lake Forest Caucus in the fall. And it's not because she doesn't think that Dr. Randy would continue to do the good job that she says he's done. No.
What's the reason, then?
He's a dude.
Oh, the old gender card. We need more ladies. Is that what she said?
She told the Lake Forester, which is owned by the Tribune, so, insert your fake news antennae here. I think there are real benefits that women bring. I happen to be a female, but I wouldn't say that's my only qualification. It's just the qualification she wants you to focus on for mayor. She hasn't offered up any policies that distinguish herself from Dr. Randy. She isn't disagreeing with Dr. Randy's policy vision for Lake Forest. And she hasn't She's just instead seeking to rally Lake Forest women as a voting bloc to reject Dr. Randy because Dr. Randy is a dude.
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
I think it's important for the city to have me, a woman, this time. I don't know if I'm a consensus builder just because I'm a woman or that it's just my style. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think? Let's vote. If it's a choice between a man and a woman, and I don't know much about either of them, or there's nothing that distinguishes the two, they share the same policy views, should we just default to the woman?
I don't like her approach, I can tell you that much. But you've said you've worked with male candidates and female candidates, and the female candidates do a good job, right?
Some of them do. I mean, yeah. People I've worked with. There are men I've worked with who I agree with more than some of the women I've worked with and for as candidates. And the women were easier to deal with. I'd say that. But that's also anecdotal experience. This is a larger point. This is of the cliche that if only women ruled the world, there'd be no war. And then you actually look at the women heads of states and how many of them have taken their countries to war. Exactly. But anyway, I digress. That's the point is we're still in this because, we've actually, I don't know, doubled, we've advance this by some exponent in the identitarian era that we just need more women in office. We just need more people of color in office. And things will be better. Are they? Including for their constituencies. We used to have this conversation often with Professor Walter Williams, the econ professor at George Mason University, who has since passed, one of the great economists of the last 50 years. And a black man, for those not familiar with his work. You should be familiar with his work, and your kids should be familiar with his work. But he would say, you look around, you compare the late 60s in terms of the number of black Americans in public office to today, and the number of black Americans in public office is vastly increased. Has the situation for black Americans vastly increased? Well, across a wide range of measures in terms of economic power, in terms of educational attainment? No.
Not at all. Yeah.
So is it going to be any different with Prudence in Lake Forest than it is with Dr. Randy? There's no disagreement here. And the larger point is there's no disagreement. This isn't like one has this vision, the other. No.
They have the same.
She is saying, vote for me because I'm a woman, and it's time we have. This is very much like Hillary Clinton's articulation in a Democrat primary. It's time we had a woman. It's just time for a woman. It doesn't matter.
Well, let's look at who cares about gender? Why even bring it up? But I guess she has nothing else.
Because it's a play. So the question is, if the choice is between a man and a woman, and you either know nothing about them, or you know everything about them and you can't distinguish between the two because they share policy views and professional achievement and educational attainment. Sort of like a college application. Who do you choose?
Right.
Do you vote just based on gender because you're a woman? Because that's the value proposition that Prudence is offering. I'm a woman. It's time for a woman. It doesn't matter how good the incumbent dude has done. It's just time for a woman.
Well, we got a text message. Dan and Amy, is she hot?
She's 76 years old.
Oh.
So.
I'm just reading the text message.
Great question. Dr. Randy is 64 years old, also not hot. They're equally not hot. So again, do you vote for the woman or the man?
That's a good question. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
There's a lot more women in public office in Illinois than there were a few generations ago.
Our mayor, our Cook County president, our Cook County state's attorney, female.
Isn't it
Susanna
going well?
Mendoza, everybody's, a lot of females.
It's going well, right?
Things are working out great.
As you've seen more women attain public office, including executive positions in public office, the state of Illinois has vastly improved across all of the quality of life metrics that are important to you. Is that right? Schools, a lot more female. I mean, even not just in the elective positions, but school board members, superintendents. The quality of K through 12 education has improved.
Our CTU president, she's a female too.
And I'm not saying, and I'm not. This is not to imply the converse either.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that the political culture is what matters, not your non-behavioral identitarian characteristics, not your intersectional score. There are terrible women politicians in this state who've been party to destroying it, and terrible men. There are terrible honkies, and there are terrible blacks and Latinos and Asians and everybody else. It's been a concerted effort across every possible demographic to destroy this state, even as those quote-unquote underrepresented populations from a bygone era are now more represented and in some cases overrepresented. But you still want to play this game. And by the way, I understand why somebody like Prudence would play it, because identitarianism works in unenlightened states like Illinois and in unenlightened suburbs. I'm not going to accuse Lake Forest of being one because this election hasn't been held. But there are many other examples of unenlightened suburbs with quote-unquote highly educated populations.
Got another text message. And if you don't vote for me, you're a misogynist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
of course.
there you go. That could help her
sure.
campaign. Excuse me.
And because there are so many PHAT men, male impersonators,
that's right.
in these suburbs, to be called a name, well, that just descends a lot of these men into puddles of tears. So, yeah, she's got a twofer there. Vote for me for a woman. That's the carrot. And if you don't vote for me, here's the stick. You're a misogynist, and you should be shunned from civil society. Melinda in Oak Forest.
Hi, Dan and Amy. I just wanted to mention that any woman running for office should be asked to define what a woman is.
Very good.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
that's right. I thought, what about pronouns? We're not supposed to talk about gender.
Well, does anybody really know? Obviously, we have KBJ, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She doesn't know what a woman is.
That's right.
So how are, Lake Forest simpletons to be able to distinguish Dr. Randy from Prudence? Nobody knows what a woman is, except Prudence, apparently. Michelle in Lake Forest. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Michelle.
Hello?
Hi, Michelle.
Oh, Michelle, yes. I thought you said Joe.
No.
I'm actually sit on the caucus, and this has been a huge disruption to an 88-year-old institution. I personally didn't vote for Prudence, and I didn't know her or Randy Tack from Adam. She didn't interview well, so it had nothing to do with her gender, and she's on a mission to destroy an 88-year-old institution that has been in place in Lake Forest for that long.
Can I just follow up with a question, Michelle?
Sure.
Why do you hate women?
I guess I hate myself.
Yeah, stop beating yourself
up. All right. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thanks for the insight.
Yeah. Well, it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind about a caucus structure. She wants what she wants.
And
Isn't it about time in this country a woman can express their ambition? Why am I the only feminist here? Amy, answer the question.
Yes.
If you didn't know anything about Dr. Randy and Prudence, which you didn't, and neither did I until we started this conversation.
I wouldn't vote for her. I don't like her name.
There you go. Perfect.
I'm being completely honest.
I like Randy better than Prudence.
Randy's much better than Prudence, yes.
Ironically, Prudence is exercising imprudence. She's being imprudent. Isn't she?
Lots of phone calls here.
Yeah, but it's just all these women-hating men like Jay on the North Side. Hey, Jay.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Good. Prudence or Randy? Dr. Randy, to you.
Well, I just feel people over the past decade have been voting for the wrong reasons. They're voting emotional, and this whole gender thing, it's out of control. I've always looked at the position like a job, and I feel that people need to look at their qualifications and their policies and vote strictly on that, not what they look like, what their skin color is, what about
their names? What about their names?
No,
not their first name.
You know what? It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I was raised that, even if you don't like the person, respect the position. And I mean, I just think people are just too emotional, again, in the past decade, and they're voting for the wrong reasons. They're voting for somebody because they're young. They're voting for somebody because of their ethnicity and stuff like that. I'm like, it's wrong. They need to look specifically at their qualifications and their policies and their histories and vote for those people on those reasons and those reasons only.
Thanks for the call, Jay. See, that's the problem. You have men like Jay who, just got chipped out of an iceberg and talking about, merit and assessing people based on their character or their skill sets or their policy decisions. I mean, we can't go back to that bad old time, can we? Prudence? Who wants a Mayor Prudence? Dr. Randy, he's a cisgendered honky. Maybe no mayor in Lake Forest. George in Naperville.
What type of footwear do they possess? Because women's legs look real sexy in high heels.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a great question. Maybe you should go when the Plague of Women Vipers has their debate. Maybe you could go to that and ask that question. Thanks for the call, George. Right. Maybe Dr. Andy will be asked, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to don some pumps?
What about identifying or changing your pronouns?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That might help.
Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I talked to Dennis Prager once, and this was about COVID, but I think it applies to this, where you have all these college-educated people in these areas doing these crazy things. And I mentioned to him, I said, the more college-educated people a society has, the weaker, more feeble, and easily brainwashed that society becomes. And he agreed 100% with that. Because all you got to, these people are all doing these crazy, stupid things, and supposedly they're educated.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Rick. Well, I mean, that's certainly the story of the North Shore generally. I'm not including Lake Forest necessarily. And again, Lake Forest caucus endorsed Dr. Randy, so they didn't buy this vote for me or support me because I'm a woman deal, so that's worth noting. But yeah, I mean, it's the old saw that an idea so dumb only a professor could believe it. And, and that's what you have a lot in these wealthy, educated areas, is you have a lot of people that are brainwashed to some extent. That's part of it. I think the bigger part of it is they're just huge cowards. They just have stuff they want to protect, and they just want to go along with whatever is popular. They don't want to rock the boat because they don't want to be targeted by these neo-Jacobin mobs. And so they just go along with all sorts of things that they actually know are insane, but they do it anyway because they're cowards. And by the way, that's not a legitimate excuse. That's not a compelling rationale.
Well, we got another juvenile text message. My guess is that Prudence has cankles.
I think Dr. Randy might, though, too. I don't know. I only see headshots. I
gotta Google these people.
And, they both are in, professional suits. Nice, professional headshots.
From Lake Forest, they're not going to wear leisure wear or active wear.
Yeah.
It's beneath them.
Yeah, it's not right. I mean, it's not like Hinsdale where the men wear leggings, too.
Oh,
yeah.
God, it's so bad. Stop. Those are for us only. Please don't wear them. Please stop, men. Please stop carrying around your yoga mats. Just please.
It's
so embarrassing.
I want to apologize. It's not leggings because those are for women, but meggings are specifically made for men.
When did they start making Lululemon for men?
I wear Lululemon golf
you do.
pants.
The
golf pants are for men, and they're very comfortable. They're quality golf pants.
All right, good. You'll have them forever, I bet.
And
I also don't have cankles. Bill in Cape Coral.
I just hope this case doesn't go to the Supreme Court because, the justices don't even know the definition of a woman. How are they going to decide this case?
Yes, exactly. Well, we'll have to leave it to the voters of Lake Forest. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the Morning Show. More Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Some people got COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes. And that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
Now, another satisfied client of Turnkey.
Hi, this is Bill Peters, Senior Marketing and Communications Director for Green Ladder Technologies in Batavia. In March of 2021, we received a call from our IT service provider that they were shutting down all IT functions and computer support in 30 days. Our family of companies relies on 100% uptime to maintain all aspects of our businesses, from fulfilling customer orders to managing logistics, payroll, and more. As AM 560 listeners, we knew about Turnkey and called them immediately. We needed to transition our servers from multiple companies, our hardware, and data in less than 30 days with zero interruption and downtime. They immediately stepped in and worked with us to avoid a catastrophic shutdown. In less than 3 weeks, we transitioned seamlessly with Turnkey. Today, Green Ladder Technologies continues to partner with Turnkey for all of our IT support.
Let Turnkey be the centerpiece for change in your business so you can get the most out of it.
Visit turnkey.pro today. Turnkey.pro. Life is complicated enough without having to worry about your financial concerns when you retire. In a perfect world, your retirement funds would just be there when you reach retirement age. But it's not a perfect world, and you really need to look ahead and be proactive to manage the dollars you've earned. The team at Wealth Management Group can help. Uncomplicate your financial future and talk to the team at Wealth Management Group today.
Call 833-WMG-PLAN. That's 833-WMG-PLAN. Or investwithwmg.com.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com. On the AM 560 mobile app. Tune in, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
There's a lot of destruction in the South. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
This is going to be a storm so many across Alabama remember.
At least 6 people were killed there when tornadoes ripped through, doing a lot of damage. Fox Weather's Nicole Valdez standing in front of what used to be a daycare.
There were dozens of people inside, including babies, some just a few weeks old, shielded by staff members who had to act quickly as that tornado tore through this historic town.
There's also damage in other states, including Mississippi, Kentucky, and Georgia, where a 5-year-old was killed when a tree fell on the car he was in. Russia is saying one thing, Ukraine the other. Amid intense fighting in the east, Russia claims it's taking control of the town of Soledar, which would cut off supply lines to Ukrainian troops in a city Russia also wants. But Ukraine says no, Soledar has not fallen. This Ukrainian doctor says there are a lot of casualties there.
It's close combat. We have gunshots. We have grenade shrapnel wounds.
Lisa Marie Presley is getting tributes on social media after Elvis's only child died at age 54.
She began her day reportedly complaining about stomach pains. TMZ is reporting that she was found unresponsive in her bedroom by her housekeeper. Her ex-husband, with whom she lived, began CPR, and she was revived at home, but then later died at the hospital. Lisa Marie lived her entire life in the spotlight with even a few high-profile marriages, most notably to Michael Jackson and Nicolas Cage.
Teresa Priola with Fox 5 TV. It's back to court this hour for the Trump Organization to be punished for tax fraud.
The Trump Organization faces a fine of up to $1.6 million after being found guilty on all 17 counts that included charges of conspiracy and falsifying business records.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. The Trump Organization's chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, he had already pleaded guilty. He was sent to jail earlier this week for 5 months. America's listening to Fox News.
Flurries and 32 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560 The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A business in Schaumburg is destroyed after catching fire. The blaze broke out last night in a storage facility near Lunt Avenue and Rodenberg Road. Cause is under investigation. A worker dead after being trapped in a building that collapsed in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood. The collapse yesterday in the 700 block of East Oakwood Boulevard. Worker found about 30 minutes later after being trapped under debris. Worker later died at an area hospital. Mayor Lightfoot apologizing after her campaign sent out emails to Chicago public school teachers for the purpose of recruiting student volunteers for her re-election campaign.
As soon as I learned about the outreach to the CPS teachers, we put a stop to it. Bottom line here is it was clearly a mistake.
The mayor said reaching out to CPS teachers will never happen again. The Bears are naming Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren as team president and CEO. He carries about 21 years of NFL experience with the Rams, Lions, and he built a new state-of-the-art stadium for the Minnesota Vikings. Blackhawks 3-2 winners over Colorado. Bulls take on OKC tonight. Fighting Illini in action tonight in Big Ten hoops. They take on Michigan State. And wild card weekend here is here in the NFL. Opening round kicking off tomorrow. And the Ravens will be without Lamar Jackson, their quarterback, for the start of the playoffs. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7, around the clock all day, every day. Listen now, Dan and Amy 247.com. 8:03. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Connell McShane. This is the Fox Business Report.
J.P. Morgan Chase's profit jumped in the recent quarter. It is returning to buying back its stock. The bank is now predicting a mild recession. Bank of America also topped forecasts with business picking up from year-ago levels. Wells Fargo's quarter was impacted by a $3.7 billion settlement with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Delta's earnings and revenue topped forecasts, though Wall Street was hoping for a more upbeat prediction from Delta. Its stock's losing ground. Apple CEO Tim Cook will take a 40% pay cut this year. Cook asked for the pay reduction, responding to shareholder feedback. There's also a possibility that Apple's holiday quarter was impacted by production cuts in China. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hi, I'm Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, and I'm currently planning my 2023 auction calendar now. I want to talk to you about items that you are considering selling. You already know that Donnelly Auctions specializes in things like guns and military, automobiles and motorcycles, and Petroliana. But I want to help you sell what you have collected. We have sold collections of police and fire badges, coin collections, and we've set a world record price for our last license plate auction. I may not be a magician, but I can make your collection disappear and reappear as money in your wallet. Donnelly Auctions is a worldwide marketplace with warehouses of collectibles. If you're selling, we can get you top dollar. Monthly auctions you can view and bid online as well. Contact me at 815-923-7000 or through our website at DonnellyAuctions.com for a free, no-obligation consultation. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy, like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about 1.5 years ago. Noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
8:07 on AM 560, The Answer. Just want to let you know about a breaking news story we're following Unconfirmed bomb threat reported at Davenport Hall at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign campus after tweets were sent out to the emergency account Illini Alert early this morning. Now, the University of Illinois police at about 7:44 this morning said the threat is not believed to be credible, but the squad is still on the scene investigating and will be on the scene until that building is fully cleared. Meantime, let's get an update on the roads, and we do that in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound Kennedy is at 30 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Right now, the Eisenhower Inn is at 44,390 to the Old Post Office. Stevenson 38 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan Inn 24 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jams up northbound between Roosevelt and Jackson. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Today, clouds and breezy, snow showers and a high 31. Partly cloudy tonight, low 22. Sunny day tomorrow, the high 37. Sun and clouds on Sunday morning, mostly cloudy by the afternoon, the high 43. Rain Monday, high at 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
31 at O'Hare, 32 Lakefront, 32 Midway. Next news, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, continuing our discussion about identitarianism in a more serious way than the Lake Forest mayor's race. We talk a bit about the trans identitarianism as a social contagion, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that. But the social contagion is not limited to the kids. Let me give you an example of this. Listen to this mom, courtesy of Libs of TikTok, talking about the identity of her kid and the row she is in with the school over the school's unwillingness to comply with her imposed identity on her kid, if you will.
The school district now is a nightmare. I go to enroll my child, and my kiddo is standing right there. I hand them the birth certificate, and I say, see right here, this is his sex. He is a boy. He goes by he, him. I had no issues at his past school, and I don't expect to have any issues here. And I swear it was like Karen, the transphobic secretary, was just waiting on us that day. She said she wouldn't put my child in the school system as his name because it has to match a birth certificate. But again, had no issues at the last school. I told her I absolutely would not enroll my child as a female. And she said, you will and you are. She enrolled my child as a female, then sent mail to my house with my child's dead name on it. At this point, my child is supposed to start school on Monday and is enrolled in the system as a female. Every single teacher in the school knew about my child, and the students were told a little girl was coming to class. This is a visual representation of my mood. Like and follow for part 3.
And she held up a monkey doll, the monkey doll with the symbols, like the angry face. I don't know if her daughter is suffering from gender dysphoria, or she's the victim of some sort of Munchausen by proxy.
Glad that's not my mom.
Chloe Cole, one more example.
Oh, yeah.
Chloe Cole is somebody we've reported on before, this young woman who transitioned and then detransitioned and has become an outspoken advocate for detransitioning and for kids who are gender confused to not be led down a primrose path by doctors and others with less than their best interests at heart. She sat down for an interview with Canadian psychiatrist Jordan Peterson and talked a little bit about where she is physically since her detransition. Pretty tough stuff. Take a listen.
I'll never have my breast back. A reconstruction will do nothing for me, and it might make things worse actually, because I've had some complications pop up this year with the grafts. I have to cover them up with bandages, or else they'll. I don't know what's going on with them. I tried to consult my surgeon about it, and he didn't really investigate. He gave me advice that made the complications worse even, and actually temporarily gave me an infection. But I have to bandage up every day so that it doesn't like leak all over my clothing or bedding. And
Jesus,
from the hormones and blockers, I've been experiencing some joint pains, mainly in my arms, my legs, and my back. And
yep.
I still have issues with my urinary tract. I have to use the restroom pretty frequently, and I didn't even know that this was possible. This is like a pretty huge quality of life issue that I'm experiencing, and I'm just not really getting any help for it. And on top of that, I do hate to speak about it, but I'm experiencing sexual dysfunction at the age of 18. That's something that women usually go through when they're in their 40s to 50s.
Right.
How was I supposed to know?
How was I supposed to know? For more on this, pleased to be joined by our friend Lionel Shriver, contributor to The Spectator, best-selling author of We Need to Talk About Kevin, which was made into a good movie, and more recently, Abomination, selected essays from A Career of Courting Self-Destruction. Lionel Shriver, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's nice to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you. You wrote a column recently, how we created a self-hating generation that in part speaks to this identitarianism that we're discussing, and wanted to get your reaction to, for example, what you heard from Chloe Cole.
Well, I'm afraid that the ideologies that we're inflicting on children and adolescents these days are a collective cruelty. Not only are we tempting them to undertake surgery and hormone treatments that are not reversible, as they're often advertised, and potentially disfiguring their lives forever. But I think that we're presenting them with a version of self that is fundamentally what it is like to be a human being and grow up as a human being, that is ugly and deterministic and reductive. Identity politics tells them that all that really matters about them is that their race and their sexual orientation. And the transgender movement tells them that only they know who they are and that they are already fully formed people when they're born, and that their only job is to tell us what they are. And I think this is unkind, because the truth is, what I remember from being a young child is a kind of formlessness and openness and uncertainty. You know, when at that age you're trying to figure things out, and the last thing you need to be told is that only you know who you are, and you have to tell us. It's a terrible burden. And I think both these movements are deterministic, and they're basically saying that you have no control over who you are. And I would contrast that to the version of identity that I grew up with, which was, it was something that you formed. Character was built. And over the years, you learn, you didn't just learn who you were. It wasn't just a discovery process, but it was an active process of deciding who you wanted to be, and therefore going out and achieving that. I wanted to be a writer, and I achieved that, and it was hard. And the fact it was hard was one of the things that made it so gratifying when I started being able to publish my work. I like the idea of identity as not only not defined by race and sexual orientation, but also as something that is active throughout your life, that it's a project, and it's a project that is never finished. And I don't expect to be exactly the same person in another 10 or 20 years any more than I feel as if I'm exactly the same person than I was 10 or 20 years ago. We change, and it's exciting and interesting, and it's something that over which you exert influence. Now, I certainly grant that that we all have a certain essential nature when we're born. We don't have total control. I use the example of, I was good at math until I hit second year calculus. I couldn't get anywhere. So I would never have made a nuclear physicist. There are a whole range of science-based futures that were closed off to me. But beyond that, I was able to develop the skills that were innate and to undertake self-improvement. And we've just abandoned that entire language.
You're right. I love this phrase from your piece about the cultural mavens. Their sole mission is to tell us what those selves already are with respect to kids. Self is a prefabricated house to which only its owner has a key. And so contrast that a little bit more, not so much necessarily with professional development, because professional development flows from character development and that character building process that kids undergo through school and parenting and interactions with their friends and life experience.
Yes. Falling in love, making commitments to other people, getting married, going through misery even. We used to find adversity character building. The Army used to advertise itself as character building, that yes, it was going to be difficult. Yes, it could at times be unpleasant, but on the other side you would come out a fuller and stronger human being. And I worry that in this more deterministic model of what it means to be a person, that we're stunting people, and we're also depressing them. Because I think young people told that, they just have to look inside and in their prefabricated house, look around and tell us what the layout is. And they look inside and they don't find much. Of course they don't. They're young. Nothing has happened to them yet. They haven't made any major life decisions. Why would they know who they are?
And adults
and the expectation that they have to know already everything about themselves, and they are already fully formed what they are, and they look inside themselves, and there isn't much there, and they get depressed, and they get anxious that there's something wrong with them.
And then the adults are here. We're told that we're here as adults only to affirm whatever they come up with, rather than to inform what they are thinking with some of our own judgments that are tempered through life experience and that same character building.
Yes, which is a total abdication of responsibility. I mean, adults no longer act like adults anymore. They subjugate themselves to children and just want to please the kids, and that is not kind. And you need to offer. It sounds old-fashioned, but we could stand a little more old-fashioned. We need to offer young people guidance and tell them more about the world and give them options, explain what some of the consequences are with different choices. But simply throwing people who don't know anything about the world onto that world with with no indication of what's right and what's wrong, that's mean. I think it's actually mean.
You're right too. To this point, I prefer to spend time with me in the present than with me at 35. I know more. My sense of humor is sharper. I'd rather, and rather to my surprise, I'm humbler. Because you develop more perspective the more that you go through, and so why would you deprive your kid of that? I mean, it's just it's amazing to me that political pressure, the political pressure of a political party you affiliate with, for example, can lead so many to abandon so much that they could otherwise be conferring to their kids.
Well, I think we're going through a very grim political time, and for once I'm not talking about the divisions between Democrats and Republicans. I think that we are busy trying to not pass any judgment anymore, and that means that there is no moral order. And the destigmatization of everything from prostitution to obesity is not necessarily a good thing. Yes, being stigmatized is not a pleasant experience, but there's a reason that these things have been traditionally stigmatized. Stigma is really gentle manipulation, if you will. Yes, you can have a child out of wedlock. It's not illegal, but we're not going to think well of you. Of course, we're way beyond that. But I think that parents in particular, as well as the larger society, ironically has to get more judgmental, and to say, you know what, if you weigh 400 pounds, your health is going to be impaired, and you're probably not going to be as happy as if you weighed half that. But instead we have embraced an anything goes thing that clearly derives from my own upbringing. I grew up during the 60s and early 70s, and there was a whole movement toward permissiveness, and I think that permissiveness is now completely out of control. So it's my generation is responsible for initiating it.
We have a nihilism problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and then it cannibalizes itself. So we were talking about this earlier this week. On the one hand, you have leftists saying to criticize somebody for being fat is racist because and specifically targets black women because of their physiognomy and so on and so forth. So that's racist. On the other hand, we have the American Academy of Pediatrics recommending that fat kids that are pre-diabetic get on medication at 12 and have lap band surgery at 13.
Yeah, well, we are denying the reality of personal responsibility, and then when we have to live with the consequences of absence of personal responsibility, our answer is medication. It's not revising the behavior.
Well,
all behavior is okay as long as it hails from who you truly are.
Right.
Well, it's taking the easy way out, not teaching, self-discipline. Just take this pill; it'll get better. Get this surgery, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's a study out yesterday that antidepressants work about have about 15% of the time they have more impact than sugar pills. So sugar pills was the placebo, antidepressants is this the pharma solution to feeling blue, and yet the incremental effectiveness is 15%.
I think the effect is hugely one of the placebo.
Yeah.
And well, right, but precisely. And so, I mean, do you see any bright spots in terms of recognition in circles that we need to go back to the character building paradigm and get away from this nihilistic paradigm?
I don't feel I'm not happy on the adult front. At a certain point, I think young people themselves are going to have to get a grip, and I'm a little worried about Gen Z, but maybe the people coming up behind them will reject this whole ideology in the same way that generations traditionally do reject whatever was fashionable in their parents' time. I've been discouraged that the identity politics movement seems to have transferred between generations. And that's contrary to the standard model that, adolescents are rebellious and think everything that their parents go on about is rubbish. So,
they got a pill for
and
that rebellion.
I'd like to see a little more adolescent rebellion, because the ideology we're talking about, it seems new, but it isn't. It's been around for quite some time. It's just become more entrenched.
She is
We
Lionel Shriver.
need adolescents to start acting like proper teenagers.
It's kind of a funny way to put it. I like that, though. Yeah, start being the rebellious teenagers we used to decry. Exactly. Lionel Shriver, contributor to The Spectator, best-selling author of We Need to Talk About Kevin, which it was made into a movie featuring Tilda Swinton that you should check out if you haven't. Most recently, the book Abomination: Selected Essays from a Career of Courting Self-Destruction. Lionel Shriver, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions, like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip, or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
I miss my baby. Someone stole my baby. By the way, my baby is my landscaping truck that was literally stolen from a job site. Baby, won't you please come home?
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with 30-plus customizable coverage options, Progressive Commercial keeps your business humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I love my sweetheart. By the way, that's my riding lawnmower.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You're not required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-786-2300. 800-786-2300. That's 800-786-2300.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
2021 marked Chicago's deadliest year in a quarter century. Crimes and gang-related violence continue to increase year over year. We can stop this violent cycle by implementing trade schools for young adults, former inmates, and other Chicagoans to learn valuable skills, providing opportunity, education, and economic empowerment. Choose Dr. Willie Wilson as mayor so we can keep Chicago safe together.
I approve this message.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, the time has arrived.
Yeah, Open Mic Friday at 8:38. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600. Turnkey.Lawrence line. Comments, compliments, criticisms, concerns, general crack pottery. We'll take it all at 8:38.
And remembering Lisa Marie Presley. Why is nobody else banged up about her death? Why? Why am I on an island all
I don't
my
know.
own?
I'm more banged up about Robbie Bachman.
Well,
Bachman
the drummer
Turner
died.
Yeah.
Not the lead singer, the drummer, right?
No, Randy Bachman did not die, no, but brother Robbie, who co-founded the band, died.
We'll call in at 8:38.
Okay. 32 degrees, snow flurries, 8:32 on AM 560, The Answer. 7 are dead. More injured after tornadoes tore through Alabama and Georgia, including historic Selma, Alabama. Hurricane hunters are in California this morning. They are studying all the recent atmospheric rivers. Planes surveying weather are in the skies this morning, looking into the storms. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointing a special counsel to oversee the investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents. Robert Hur taking on that role. The FAA software that failed Wednesday is over 30 years old and reportedly will not be upgraded for at least 6 more years. The software failure caused thousands of flight delays and cancellations across the country. An unconfirmed bomb threat reported at Davenport Hall on the campus of the University of Illinois this morning. A tweet sent out by the campus's emergency account at about 6:12 a.m. urged people to get away from Davenport Hall as far as possible, but by 7:44, University of Illinois police said the threat was not believed to be credible, but the bomb squad was still on the scene, investigating. A business in Schaumburg destroyed after catching fire near Lunt Avenue and Rodenberg Road. A worker dead after being trapped in a building that collapsed in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood that collapsed yesterday in the 700 block of East Oakwood Boulevard. 3 workers exited the building. 1 was unaccounted for when firefighters arrived. That worker later found trapped under debris. The Postal Inspection Service is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of 2 men who robbed a letter carrier on Chicago's North Side on Wednesday. And it could be a while before the Christmas Parade Memorial in Waukesha, Wisconsin becomes a reality. Planners say they're $1 million short of their fundraising goals so far. They've raised just $250,000. Blackhawks 3-2 winners over the Colorado Avalanche at the UC. The Bulls back at the United Center tonight taking on OKC. Fighting Illini take on Michigan State in Big Ten hoops tonight. The news service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher says we're jumping to conclusions again.
And right away, people were taking to social media, people are dying suddenly, don't get the vaccine. They immediately linked this cardiac event to a vaccine, the COVID vaccine, without one shred of evidence that was the case.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Start your new year off right by finally losing that weight. Schedule your consultation with NJ Diet today. Their scientific approach will ensure that you lose the fat quickly and safely. NJ Diet uses your hair and saliva samples, along with their bioenergetic scans, to personalize natural solutions and supplements that balance your hormones, where the side effect is weight loss. You'll shed a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. Then NJ Diet uses DNA testing to help you keep it off. NJ Diet is all natural, no shots, no hormones, no surgery, and no prepackaged foods. Full supervision is provided every step of the way, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. With locations in Skokie and Oak Brook, or from anywhere with live online video consultations, lose 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days, guaranteed. Call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET, or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com and lose the weight for good.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
2021 marked Chicago's deadliest year in a quarter century. Crimes and gang-related violence continue to increase year over year. We can stop this violent cycle by implementing trade schools for young adults, former inmates, and other Chicagoans to learn valuable skills, providing opportunity, education, and economic empowerment. Choose Dr. Willie Wilson as mayor so we can keep Chicago safe together.
I approve this message.
Exercise more, lose 10 pounds. Tired of New Year's resolutions you can't keep? Here's one you can keep, saving more for retirement. If you're a small business owner, independent, professional, consultant, or self-employed individual, according to the IRS, you may be able to save up to $265,000 a year pre-tax. You may think, I already have a retirement plan. I can't put away that much each year for retirement. No, you can't. Not with a traditional retirement plan, but you can with a defined benefit plan. A defined benefit plan is IRS approved and a way for high-income earners to begin to catch up on their retirement savings pre-tax. We call it a retirement accelerator. Visit yourretirementaccelerator.com to download their guide to see if you might qualify. That's yourretirementaccelerator.com. This year, make a resolution you can keep. This advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be relied on as financial advice. Any specific recommendations are provided only after understanding your entire financial situation.
8:38. Let's get a look at the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Discover. You can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Talk about amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply. Kennedy inbound, 30 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound, 37,390 to the old post office. Stevenson inbound, 31,355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan in, 22 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy, breezy with a snow shower and a high of 31. It's 31 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It is Open Mic Friday. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Comments, compliments, concerns, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. Get to as many calls as we can. So if the lines are busy, which I think they are, please be patient. Amy, I'll surrender the floor
Thank
to
you.
you to offer a eulogy for Lisa Marie.
54 years old. I mean, I just saw her at the Golden Globes when Austin Butler won for his performance in Elvis, which was a great movie. And I know you saw it as well.
Yeah, very good.
And I'm just heartbroken. She's 54 years old. Her poor mother. And she woke up, her stomach was hurting. And after her ex-husband came home from dropping the kids off at school, she was in the closet and she had a sudden cardiac arrest.
Well, she felt ill at the Golden Globes, the reports go. Yeah, I mean, you know,
It's the king's daughter.
Yeah, only daughter, which is also interesting.
Sort
But the 54,
That's young.
She's sort of a wreck, though, wasn't she, in her life? I mean,
She was addicted to drugs. She went to rehab 5 times.
She married Michael Jackson. There's no woman in their right mind who marries Michael Jackson.
She was friends with him since she was 7 years old. Remember, she was 9 when her dad died. And
so what?
I think it's worse that she married Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage loved Elvis so much that he married the best thing, his only daughter.
Did you see that documentary about Michael Jackson and you want to say that marrying Nick Cage was worse? I don't think so.
All right, you're right. But here's one of her songs. Can I play this for you? Just because she's talented. Okay, she was a musician and a songwriter in her own right.
You can be overriding.
Called Shine.
That
Bad, huh? little auto tune maybe to help it along.
I had to chuckle at the Wall Street Journal obituary, which recounted that she recorded 2 or 3 studio albums.
Yeah.
That had some success, but the Wall Street Journal reporting. But her success was overshadowed by her famous father. Oh, really? Was it?
You don't say?
I mean, it's sad. It's a sad thing, but I think she's a good example of how poisonous fame is, particularly if you're famous from the day you're born. And I just don't think that fame served her well.
Yeah. And we'll find out, people are wondering, was she vaccinated, all that.
Uh-huh.
Because I know we had Bob Snyder on from Jenny's Mission yesterday. 400,000 people a year just die from sudden cardiac arrest. But I feel like more and more deaths are happening. I don't know.
Well, I don't know that this was a healthy 54-year-old as contrasted from like very healthy, in shape 21-year-olds or Bob Snyder's daughter who died on a soccer field. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait to hear more. I mean, obviously it's a tragic occurrence, but there's some context here.
I almost didn't come to work today. I was so distraught. I didn't sleep last night. It's awful. What's wrong with me? Can you tell me?
I'm going to leave that to callers. What's wrong with Amy? Bob, Buffalo Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Amy and Dan. Thanks for getting to me. As I missed talking to you early this morning when you were discussing the Biden documents and played that great Hank Johnson soundbite. What a moron! And he's a congressman. But there's more.
Those two things those two things are hardly mutually exclusive, by the way. But go ahead.
There's more. The ladies of The View.
I have it here.
Those aren't ladies.
Also offered the same thing.
I've never seen a luckier person than Donald Trump. Just as we're this close to getting him, but somehow these documents appear.
Oh, my God. I'd rather listen to Lisa Marie Presley than that cacophony. Good grief. Then go ahead, Bob.
And then this weekend, I'll be watching Sunday News. I'm just wondering how good old Chucky Toad and Georgie Stephanopoulos and their biased panel discussions will spin this. Now I heard a reference to a garage gate. So how are they going to spin this thing?
Thanks for the call, Bob. It's very simple. Repeat after me, won't you? Mm-hmm. Joe Biden takes classified information very seriously. The classified information was inadvertently put in places it didn't belong many times, and they have been completely transparent about said classified information.
Even though they were discovered in November, and then the latest trove of documents were found in December 20th. And now we're just learning about it. And they knew about it, and they lied about the second set of documents. So
I know many Corvette owners, including of vintage Corvettes, and I'm sure they will agree that they take care of their vet like it is classified information, like it is America's secret. So if he put the classified documents with his vet, or somebody did, then that is the highest standard of care one can offer for classified documents. That's my defense.
As you mentioned earlier, who's got the garage door opener? Mm-hmm.
Or openers. Dun, dun, dun. Kevin in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I was curious. Couple things. First, I want to thank you for making me look up the Munchausen syndrome. And I remember
Munchausen
understanding what it was.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just as far as, making things up to get attention. It seems a lot of liberals do.
Well, it's Munchausen by proxy is parents hurting their children to get attention, which is the suggestion I made about that ghastly woman talking about her kids' pronouns and so forth. But anyway.
Yeah, instead of preparing her child for the world. And one other thing, why are people talking about me? I hear there was a book written about it, and I just don't know what that is.
Why are people talking about me? What?
Yeah, why are people talking about Kevin?
No, we have to talk about Kevin. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Maybe
by Lionel Shriver. It's a good book, and as I said, it was made into a movie starring Tilda Swinton. So yeah.
I guess that just didn't go over well. I was told that would have been funny by your call screener. Anyhow, one other thing I want to.
He's feeding you jokes.
Do not trust Quinn's sense of humor.
I said it as a joke, and he said, "Oh, I got to put that in. You got to say that."
Yeah.
Anyhow, Maybe they're talking about me because we have to get more people on the grassroots level to get involved. I think York Township, last time I saw it, had 28 people who are not precinct captains. To start changing the culture now is for Republicans who listen to you, who are fellow travelers, to get involved. And then if you can answer the question, what's the state of play with Illinois Republicans? I love your show. I get to listen to Chicago accents while I'm down here in Austin, Texas. And I have people telling me that my hard A's are coming out harder when I say absolutely and fantastic.
Sound like Dennis Franz to those Texans, don't you? Thanks for the call, Kevin. Well, first of all, Kevin from Austin, Texas, the only resident of Austin, Texas, who has granular knowledge of what's going on in DuPage County Township.
Yes.
The Illinois Republican Party, still a legal fiction, does not exist, has no leadership, has no discernible rationale, policy agenda. So I guess it's a wait and see, as it's been for, 25 years. Will Skokie.
Hey, how you doing? I find it very interesting that whenever Democrats have issues, like when they want somebody to come in and clean up or something like this, they always hire lawyers to do it. They don't hire, cleanup people, because...
Where's Wolf when you need him? Yeah.
Yeah. The problem that occurs, number one, they can't testify. And number two, why always lawyers? Why can't they? And do the lawyers who actually clean this stuff up, do they have security clearance? So they're looking through documents to see if they're security documents, but yet they don't have security clearance to actually look at the documents. It's very strange.
Maybe some White House counsel may, but yeah, all right. I agree. I would have called Harvey Keitel too. Ralph and Rantoul.
Good morning, Dan. Earlier you mentioned the poison of fame. I agree. I've worked tirelessly my entire life to avoid fame, and so far I've achieved nothing, and nobody knows me. And when I die, I'll leave nothing and be remembered by no one.
You've done well.
Yes.
Good and faithful servant.
Yes.
All right, Ralph. See, that's funny.
Yes.
Kevin and Austin, take some instruction from Ralph. Dave in Racine, Wisconsin.
Greetings.
What about salutation?
With the protest by women athletes at the NCAA, or not NCAA, the NCAA meeting, I just thought of this. If they're going to allow gender dysphoric males to compete against gender dysphoric or biological females, maybe, which I think is de facto cheating, maybe we shouldn't trust other NCAA events like the basketball tournaments or the bowl games, to see if they might be fixed also.
Oh, thanks for the call, Dave. What the ladies want their NIL money or what? Is that what they're complaining about now? Title IX wasn't enough. Now they want their NIL money, even though nobody watches women's sports. Is that? Nobody? No, nothing. Nobody wants to defend. All right, Eduardo in Midway.
Yeah. Good morning, Dan and Amy. You were talking about obesity in children earlier in the week. They need to go through 2 years of boot camp. They need to eat better. They need to eat before 6:30 because I've been hearing about that. And even reading Reader's Digest, but I know that's kind of like old timers reading. But reading and sleeping by 10 p.m. All those things. But they're on social media. See, we're from Generation X. We didn't have that. So
you're Generation X and you read Reader's Digest. What are you looking for? Casserole recipes? What are you? What are you doing? Eduardo, up your game. Thanks for the call.
Move on.
Boy,
Reader's
Rich, Indian Head
Digest.
Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Hi. I think the problem that we have in this country is we no longer vote for the best people in politics and in different positions in schools and stuff. I think it's all based now on whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're black or white, or whether you're gay or straight. I think we need to get back to getting people in positions that are going to help the people in their daily lives and not base it on gender or race or sexuality.
I agree. Thanks for the call, Rich. By the way, the Republican Party is not just as, but is also guilty of playing identity politics, and dysfunctional, vestigial Republican parties like the one in Illinois are some of the worst offenders, and it's the reason they're irrelevant is because you're going to out-left the left. Right. The point here is to provide a contrasting vision for your party and thus how that would inform the public policy choices you make and the kind of society we live in. This is sort of a 101 axiom that seems to evade so many Republican Party officials, particularly in Illinois. Steve, Orland Park.
Good morning. I've noticed a politician will run for an office, win that office, and partway through their term, run for a different position instead and not fulfill their term in the first office they were voted in for. I think this should be unlawful. I'd like to know what your thoughts and feelings are about this.
Thanks for the call, Steve. I wouldn't make it unlawful. People can freely run for office, but maybe what you could do is you have to resign your current office to run for the next, because that's a huge advantage for an incumbent where they don't have to worry about, for example, their salary because they're on salary at the state or whatever their position while they're running for another office. And people who come from the private sector have to figure out how they can be a full-time candidate. So you marginalize people that are not independently wealthy from entering the political arena from the outside, advantaging those on the inside. So I wouldn't say you can't, you have to fulfill your term, but I would say that I would be supportive of something that requires, whether it's Ron DeSantis or J.B. Pritzker, you want to run for president? Go ahead. But that's a full-time job. We all know that, being a candidate. And so as soon as you go full-time as a candidate for an office that's not the one you currently hold, then you resign that office. Ed in Chicago Heights.
Hi.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, just wondering your NFL wildcard weekend picks. I promise I won't fade you like Billy Walters might.
Well,
what do you have, Dan?
Is there any upsets in the making? I don't think so. So Dallas over Tampa Bay, that's easy. Minnesota over Seattle, I think. I'm fading on the matchups. Who are the AFC matchups? San Diego could be an upset. Who does San Diego have again? Or LA now? The Chargers.
Yeah, it's LA now against the Jaguars and Clemson's Trevor Lawrence, that number one QB pick from a year ago.
I think, but San Diego's a wild card. The Jags are the division winner, but the Jags, I assume, are going to be the underdog. I like the Jags there. That's probably. Wow. I think that's my only upset pick. I think everything else holds serve, don't you?
So you would think San Francisco kill Seattle?
Yeah.
You think Minnesota?
San Francisco, Seattle, Minnesota, and who does Minnesota have again?
Minnesota's playing New York Giants.
Yeah, Minnesota beats the Giants. Won. Yeah, Minnesota beats the Giants.
And you think Prescott will beat Brady?
Well, it's not Prescott versus Brady. It's Tampa Bay can't score, and
true.
He just unless Mike Evans, unless they can sort of rekindle Mike Evans as a deep threat in that game, I don't see Tampa having a chance against the Cowboys. Even though I hate the Cowboys, so yeah, I think the Jags would be the only upset I'd pick.
And you'd say Cincinnati over the Ravens?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati has a good chance to win it all.
And what about Buffalo, Bill, and Miami? Bills,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Bills. Yeah. I think Tua's out, isn't he? Is Tua playing for the Dolphins?
No, he's out.
Yeah. So they have no chance. So yeah, I think I would say so. Those are my picks. The only upside would be the Jags, and I think I'm going to say it. I think the Bengals win the whole thing. How about that?
You think the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl?
I do. Joe Burrow's going to win. All right, you heard it here first. And I think going like in the maybe like down the stretch when there were still a couple of weeks left, I think like the Bengals were an 8-1 dog to win the whole thing. And boy, that was attractive to me. If I was still partaking in games of chance like that, I would have put money on that.
Well, that's sports investment, and that's what Sean Thompson hates.
Sports investment. Yes, that's a better way. I like that better than gambling. Sports investment. Yes, very good. All right, Ed, Godspeed this weekend. Very good.
That laugh of his.
Dawn, Naperville.
You sound like Cat Summerall. Anyway,
thank you very much. The late
You're
great.
welcome. So on Tuesday, January 10th, the Advocacy Institute came out with their state-by-state graduation rates for students with disabilities for school year 2019 and 2020. So when I looked it up and I went to go look for Illinois, the information was blank. There was no data to report at all. So when I questioned the individual who posted the report, her reply was the data was suppressed due to concerns with data quality. So I have another email out to her to clarify, like what they're, how they're determining that. But I thought that might be an interesting article for Wirepoint or ProPublica to look into as to how, because the reporting is mandated by ESSA. So
yeah, you know what I think is going on there. You have
What?
Illinois high school grads that are in charge of the data collection. And that's the Dawn and Naperville. Thank you, Chuck and Delavan to close it out.
Hey, I am completely upset about this whole thing with Dr. Jill. Her civil rights 14th Amendment was violated. You cannot deny a person within his jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. She did not have her underpants drawer going into. Amy has complained to me about talking about Melania's underpants drawer, but I have to bring it back up. Fair is fair. When is the FBI going to go
Barron's
in?
room. They went through Barron's room, too.
No, that's
well,
true.
they're not going to go through Hunter's room, but I'm very distraught about this whole thing. The 14th Amendment, it's been violated. I want to get the FBI on this right now.
That's a great point, Ed. That's a great point that Jill Biden's underwear drawer should be rifled through as well. Very good point. Yeah, fair is fair. Very good. All right. That's a wrap.
Thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy, who'll be performing at Zanies this weekend.
Yeah, right.
Such a great joke writer, isn't he?
The
Wow.
undercard. The fluffer. Yeah.
So have a great weekend, and now let's go into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Still some flurries out there. We're watching cloudy, breezy conditions develop over Chicagoland throughout the day. Mayor Lightfoot apologizing for campaign recruiting her campaign recruiting student volunteers. A worker dies after a building collapse in Bronzeville. A woman stabbed inside a Southwest Side business. The Bears hire Kevin Warren as their team president and CEO. WIND Chicago News Time is 9 o'clock.
They just spent the night searching for anyone trapped. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. In areas of Alabama torn apart by tornadoes.
It went from very calm and quiet to chaos very quickly.
The storm has torn up Selma so bad. Every street that you go down, there's so much debris, trees.